All right, welcome back to another episode of the Apocalypse Podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm one co-host. With me, as always, is my brother Taylor.
Hi, hey, it's me, Taylor, and I'm really glad it's just me and you here, so I'm not going to be startled by any new people or any new ideas. It's all going to not be scary. Cool.
Yep. So, today, we got a special episode.
Wait,
more special than normal. Normally, we're doing a magic podcast today, by the way. And as always, resident magic guy, Carver, say hey.
Hello, everyone.
There's Carver, but guess what? We have another special guest. His name is Daniel. He is a longtime friend of mine. I've known him since he was literally in diapers, and now he is a full-grown-ass man. And one of my favorite people. Daniel, say hi.
Hello, I'm Daniel, and I'm excited to be on the show today and talk about magic cards.
Wow. Really, really fucking terrible intro.
No, that was honestly,
it was so
shout out.
It was so professional.
This is the most coherent someone's ever been when trying to figure out how do I say, hi, thanks for letting me on the podcast without feeling like a weirdo.
If there's one thing people know about me, it's that I have good social etiquette. So
he went full pro mode. So today we got a magic episode and we have Carver and Daniel, and the topic of discussion today is our top 4 favorite common cards. Yes, top 4 because there's 4 of us and each of us talking about a card. If there was 5, I think the podcast would just be too long. This one probably already will be too long, but whatever. So each of us are going to talk about 4 cards, our all-time favorite common rarity cards. And then we're going to have some honorable mentions at the end because we're all Pauper heads, except Taylor, who knows nothing about Pauper. But we have tons of commons that we all love, and it's actually pretty hard was for me anyway, to narrow down my cards. So we're going to see how long this one goes, but yeah, we got four commons each.
So
our faves.
At the top, I want to shout out that this was so hard for me for the opposite reason, because I would love to hear the stories of this common affinity you guys all have, because you guys are talking like, oh, dude, commons, it's such an easy topic, or so many interesting cards. It's like, man, I was hoping to find a 4th card I found somewhat just not stats or bad creature for the cost, because I just was not very inspired. So I'm curious to hear.
Yeah,
because I felt nothing, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think me, Kyle, and Carver all really love the Pauper format, probably for different reasons. But I think there's a lot of cool commons that aren't necessarily the most powerful, obviously, compared to rares, but are still cool cards with good synergy, and they're fun to play. So
yeah, that's something that I guess I didn't really think about. Like, if you're having to pick commons and you're not used to playing the Pauper format, so you don't understand the power level disparity and how commons can interact with each other when you're just limited to commons, I can see how that would be tough to just be like, yeah, like I'm used to playing standard where you have 99% of decks are rare and then you play one common card that's like somewhat good. So yeah, I don't know. Oh well, tough titties, Taylor.
No, it kind of felt like when you're drafting and you're on your like 11th pick and you're just seeing a bunch of like generic junk that you're like, all right, how do I fit this into what I want to try to win it with this deck? So
and it's funny, I was just thinking, sorry to interrupt you, but you were just talking about drafting, and like I was just thinking, it's, I feel like one of the reasons I like Pauper is it kind of does feel more like a limited format, in the sense that the power level's lower, and so you can play worse cards and still have a good time, and it comes down more to like making the right plays rather than them trying really fucking powerful cards, right? So
yeah, it's weird because it just like completely flips, like the pendulum goes the other way, right? Instead of having access to these dozens and dozens of different rares and mythics, suddenly all those go away, but every single common that's ever existed suddenly opens up. And so yeah, it's a cool pendulum effect of taking away and giving in a different way. But all right, so since Taylor doesn't understand commons, he's going to go last. Who wants to go first? Do we want to start off with Big D over here?
Money, that's me.
D money.
I'm happy to do that. Before I even talk about my cards, though, I want to say, so yeah, like Kyle said, we're doing our 4 favorites today. Originally, we talked about doing 5, and then we decided that was going to be just too long of a discussion. But it was interesting. So I had my list of 5 favorites picked out in order of my number 1 favorite to my number 5 favorite. But when we cut it down to 4, I couldn't take my number 5 favorite off the list. I took my number 4 favorite off the list.
So it ended up you're
So
saying you had 5 and you thought your 5th favorite was the knockout, but it turns out 4th was not.
yeah, so it wasn't really.
Okay.
Like when my rankings were off when I actually had to trim it down. I was like, oh, actually, no,
It's
I
that
don't
thing
like
when you
that one as
when
much
you
as
like decide between 2 things and you're like, all right, I'm gonna flip a coin to figure it out, and then it flips one way and you're like, no, actually, I don't want that one. So it like
Yeah,
decides for
exactly.
you, even if it's kind of accidental.
Anyway, yeah. So if you guys want me to go first, I'm
Yes,
happy to do that.
do go.
All right, sweet. So my first card is from 2023. It's a recent card from Wilds of Eldraine. It is Candy Trail.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why I like this card so much. I mean, I do, but it's a low cost artifact. Leave it to Wizards to continue to make a lot of really good low cost artifacts. But I like that they merged the food and the clue types, and I think the Candy Trail is a good.
Dude,
It's
hold
super,
on. The background audio is so
Daniel's?
great. Dude,
It sounded like a candy
yeah,
trail.
dude. It's like this whimsical, cute little like flute sounding dude. Oh my god,
man,
that's so
that
good.
was so good. I am
Okay.
so glad that's happening.
I had to-
diegetic soundtrack is
had to
incredible.
stop
Should I lower my my input?
No,
you're
it's not going to
fine.
matter because if you're talking, it's going to be picking up your mic. But Daniel was telling us before we started all this that his roommates are doing like a wind instrument rehearsal at their house. So Daniel's got all these like cute, happy wind instrument people playing audio behind him. All right. So keep going. Sorry, that's good. All right, Candy Trail.
Oh my god. It was super. Oh god, I didn't realize you guys could hear that.
Oh yeah.
It was quieter before. Could you guys hear it before? No.
No,
I didn't
but
hear
it's
it
like
before.
it's coming
Okay.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, they just got louder. But anyway,
Dude, they're going ham with the flutes.
I love Candy. Damn it, this is gonna be too funny. I love Candy Trail. It's such a good card. I love playing it in sealed. I played a lot of sealed when Wilds of Eldraine came out, and it was just like I'd happily play it in every deck. It feels good to play for 1 and scry 2. Sometimes you can sacrifice it to something else, or you can pay the 2 and sacrifice it and get you get the benefits of a clue and a food. Right? It's like not broken in any way, but I think it's really well balanced, and no matter how you use it, and ends up like feeling like a fair cost. I also love that with how fairy tale themed the Wilds of Eldraine set was. This is just, a clear reference to the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale. Like, I think, yeah, I don't know. I love it. I think it was a really fun card. I love the art too. It looks really good in foil.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I like
I don't know how
purple,
you guys feel about it.
The purple little like embers probably look really good in foil.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you guys have to think about it?
Nice.
It looks like just so much value, right? Like for 1 mana, you scry 2, and then for 2 more, gaining 3, draw a card. It's just dripping with value. I don't know anything about the extra synergies in the set as far as being a food and clue, like if that like helps with certain things. But yeah, I'm looking at this card. I remember playing regular Eldraine, or the first Eldraine set, and Witching Well was a card I loved. That was just 1 mana scry 2, and then you had to pay 4 to draw 2, but it just seems like this card might be similar. Like 1 mana to scry 2 to set your early game up is like really strong and limited. So, and then this card being a little cheaper, but you gain for the sack effect, but you gain the life and draw a card. Yeah, I definitely would have overlooked this card. I don't know if I was paying attention to this set much, but this card looks sweet, so love it.
Yeah, I mean, Affinity is just like one of the strongest archetypes in the Pauper format. So this card is obviously just insane in any Affinity deck because, like you said, it's 1 mana to set up your next 2 draws, which is super important because Affinity is so all in that sometimes you need to like hit exactly what you want in order to play your stupid All That Glitters, which is the most bullshit card. I fucking hate that card, but it's goddamn powerful.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's perfect to set up your giant affinity plays, and affinity is just or metalcraft or artifact themed stuff is just Candy Trails. It's super super strong because it's really really cheap. It's a cheap artifact. It becomes free if you have any kind of artifact cost reduction. If you don't ever end up sacrificing it, you at least get to scry 2, so of course that's great. And if you do sack it, it's just a really good tempo play. It replaces itself in your hand. It gives you a little bit of life to buffer yourself against like any kind of burn deck. Gaining that 3 life can be pretty annoying for them to deal with. Candy Trail. Great card. Classic.
Taylor, are you familiar with this card?
Yeah, of course. I'm actually, the more modern you go, Daniel, the more I'm going to probably be familiar with it. Basically, my Magic blind spot is basically 2010 to 2018-ish. So the Magic Arena era, like, I'm very familiar with this card, and one of the things I love and hate is how Wizards is just kind of smug enough to be like, this is a food clue. Like, it almost is. This is almost just a textless card that just is 1 mana artifact with no text, and all it says is, artifact dash food clue. And it, like, when they do a reprint of it, it's got this crazy textless format. It's so close to being that, and I kind of love that about this. So I think the artifact token era of Magic design is both like something I really love and hate at the same time. I'm very conflicted, and like it feels so interesting, but now is like it feels like that's part of the problem with like modern. I think a lot of Magic cards feel so powerful. Is like you look at this 1 mana artifact and it's just like fuck, it does kind of do everything, doesn't it? And why wouldn't you play this in like every kind of deck that would want artifacts, card draw, life, or card selection? Oh, yep. Every deck. Okay.
It's
but
it's so
I love the but at the same time, one thing I really like about modern card design is how efficiently, surprisingly written this is, with the amount of like the fact that like food clue on a type line is a lot of that text. Is a lot of this card is reminder text, which is just kind of cool. I think that one of my favorite parts about this card is its design and nothing to do with gameplay, which is I think is the only aspect we haven't really talked about. Is I think balance wise, I don't really have much to go off of, but I just really like how this is almost just like, what if we smash 2 of our token types that are going to be in the same standard format together, and like how do we make that strong enough to be a playable card? And I think this is just a really good noob-friendly card of being like, these are effects you like in your deck. They can go in just about everything, so it kind of feels like a nice little like duct tape in a lot of ways. And if you're talking about like draft formats, like this feels like designed specifically to be that nice, like it doesn't do anything special, but it feels good doing a little bit of everything and enough of each thing to feel impactful enough for a card slot. So look at me, I have a lot to say, and it's nothing good balance.
That's right. I'm proud of you, buddy.
So I don't have a lot of
experience
Dad. with the Pauper format, but is this Daniel? You play a little more actual like Pauper, right? You mentioned loving this in sealed, but is this card really good in the Pauper format, like in Affinity, like Kyle referenced, or?
I don't know if it's like a meta deck staple.
Is way better, unfortunately.
Yeah, Lembas and Ichor Wellspring are like 2 staples still. I do remember seeing decks that play this, but I can't remember if it's a staple card in the Pauper format or not.
If you don't remember, Carver and or Taylor, Lembas is a Lord of the Rings card. It's 2 mana to play, but when it ETBs, you scry 1, then draw a card. So it's 1 more mana up front, but you immediately get to scry and draw, and then you can sack it to gain life instead of sacking it to draw the card. So it's like,
I see the order of operations just is more.
It's better. It's way better.
Yeah.
They front loaded it a little bit more, but Lembas is.
And Lembas also has the ability of sort of
not
prevents you from milling yourself out.
To derail too much.
Hold on. I'm doing what, Daniel?
Doesn't Lembas have a?
It shuffles itself into the deck, if that's what you're.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shuffles itself into the deck. Yeah. So it kind of like saves you from running out of deck, so to speak.
If mill was ever a concern in Pauper, which it literally.
No, I realize it's not actually a concern, but
But just for perspective, like something that this thing does is that I know these aren't standard playable, but like the black-green tribe in Bloomborough cares about food tokens specifically. So this counts as a food token. Like while that's not a very obvious synergy, there is some relevance beyond the fact that food can be sacked to gain life. There is explicit synergies with cards that want food tokens. So
yes,
food,
absolutely. And playing this card in the limited format, that I was definitely something that people took advantage of, was the synergies with the cards that synergize with foods or clues. I can't remember if there are many that call out clues, but there are multiple that call out foods. It again, like, it feels really nice being able to play it for 1 and scry 2, and then if you can either pay 2 and get its straight effect, or use it with another card that uses foods. And it worked really well in the limited format, and I think it works really well in other formats too.
Nice. All right, moving on. Carver, what's your fourth least most favorite?
So I don't have any.
Something we didn't talk about too, is I'm totally whatever. Is how we determined favorites. I don't know if we even need to talk about this, but it did come up in the pre-discussion for this podcast where I don't know. It was basically, what I'm saying is, when you guys start, just give a brief, like, maybe sentence or two of how you decided what was your favorite.
Like in general, like what our
like I know
was.
Daniel didn't get to do that if you wanted to, but like when we were talking, it seemed like we all had kind of different criteria for why we picked cards.
Yeah.
All right, I will just cut the line because I had the least to say. I picked mine because they were my favorites. I have no idea the power level of any of these, nor have I have anything to say about.
I'm asking, like, why was it your favorite? What made you go, like, this is a card of mine that is my favorite?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. So
yeah,
like, for me, it was cards that I just really like, and I think they're fun to play, or I enjoy seeing other people play them. Like, they come on the battlefield, I'm like, oh hell yeah, like that's a cool
maybe
card.
it's not even worth
or
explaining.
cards that have really really cool art, really cool design.
If there's a special reason besides the, like, it just makes me feel good.
Right. Yeah. All right. Never mind. You know what? Yeah.
That's really embarrassing for you to have asked that.
Yeah, it was. It was. I'm embarrassed.
Oh, I think I'm glad you brought it up. So I think we should all talk about it. I mean,
I'm going to with
Taylor,
my cards for sure. Touch on, especially one. I know Kyle will.
I think just in us talking about the cards, we're going to end up talking about why they're our favorites anyway. So it's probably just not worth it. So anyways, all right. I'm watching Carver.
I was gonna say my reasons are kind of a little different card to card. Like, it's not always exactly the same. Although I would say a common thread would be that they are all I've all witnessed them do extremely powerful things, and coming from a common, it's just I don't know. It like makes, I think it elevates the card standing in my eyes. You know what I mean? So in this case, you'll notice my fourth card. So my experience with Pauper mostly is with Pauper EDH.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
My experience mostly with Pauper EDH. No card in my EDH Pauper EDH general. God, I can't talk. Is is Enlisted Worm. He's if you can play any uncommon creature, and no one card in that deck do I search for more with Heliod's Pilgrim or Totem Guide Heartbeast, or no one card in that deck has as much of a swinging effect as this card right here, Armadillo Cloak. Like, this card just pops so freaking hard. I can't believe this card was ever considered to be a common, especially when creatures were a lot worse when this card was printed. Unbelievable. Our Armadillo Cloak is if you're not familiar, should we say what the card does? Or
sure. Yeah, just go over it briefly.
Armadillo Cloak is a 1 generic, 1 green, 1 white mana, so 3 total cost. It's an enchantment for enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +2/+2/+2 and has trample, and then whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. That is important because that's a trigger.
Yes.
That's not lifelink.
It is not. So you can give it lifelink, and then you gain twice the life from this thing. It's stupid.
It also has a minor downside, a little downside, that if somebody can kill you in response to the trigger, they can. Like there's little downsides to it. But for the most part, it's basically lifelink. And this card, so many games I've played with Enlisted Worm where I felt like I was I haven't played from behind a lot with that deck, but if I ever was feeling like I was behind, I draw this card and I'm like,
if I wasn't always fucking dominating with this deck, I might feel like this card is good from behind.
Yeah,
sorry,
when I was in my dire moments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I draw this card and it's just a total game changer. Like it lets you, it's like the epitome to me of a card that plays. It's the epitome of me of a card that says the best defense is a good offense. You know what I mean? Where you just slap this on your probably already enchanted creature or buffed creature, and now you're attacking them. You have trample, so they can't chump block you well, and you're gaining life, so they can't race you. I love this card. It's super strong. That's my 4th pick. So Armadillo Cloak.
Dude, okay, yeah. I need to just jump
Kyle,
in.
shut up for a second.
Okay.
My number 4 card is Armadillo Cloak.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know if you'll need to bring it up, but yeah, not a joke. My number 4 spot is Armadillo Cloak specifically.
Holy
and
shit.
And the even funnier part is that it was my number 5, but then when Daniel talked about like, oh, my number 5 became my number 4, literally what happened with Armadillo Cloak. So that was really fucking weird to sandwich those two.
All right,
we're synced up today.
Yeah, swap it out. Go back to whatever your 5th was, Taylor.
Okay, I will. I just had to share that before we go on too far.
Great minds, Taylor. This card's badass.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know as well, Pauper EDH is the commander format. EDH is what it was originally called, but we play Pauper EDH where you take, instead of requiring a legendary to be your commander, you take an uncommon creature and you make it your commander. So I famously chose Gelectrode, which was just an absolute menace for a commander. Carver picked Enlisted Worm, which is a 6-mana, 5/5 Cascade. That's all it does. Very simple. It doesn't sound like it would be as good as it is, but it's just bonkers value, because Cascade is when you cast it, you reveal cards from your deck until you find a lower converted mana cost, and then you cast that card for free. So Carver's deck was just green-white ramp. You ramp into Enlisted Worm turn 4 or 5. It slams down as a 5/5, which it's almost always the biggest creature in play. Then he just digs through his deck until he hits basically anything else and then plays that for free on top of his general. So, like, the deck is just infinite value, and you put Armadillo Cloak on his general, who he always has access to, and Carver basically he has a 7/7 trample lifelink. Like every game. The Armadillo Cloak is bonkers insane. And if he plays it and you don't have a response to it, it's like, it feels like playing against an Eldrazi. Like, you need to respond to this now or you're just gonna die. That's all there is to it. Like, you die in 2 turns if you don't deal with this. Yeah, Armadillo Cloak it always makes me groan when I see it. Almost as much as, I wish I remembered the name of the card, but it's a 3-mana enchantment. If it's green, it gets +1/+1 and vigilance, and if it's white, it gets +1/+1 and indestructible. It's from the Shadowmoor.
Soul of the Oversoul? No, Soul of
Gift of the Oversoul?
Shield of the Oversoul?
I think it's
something
Gift.
like that.
Gift of Orzhova. Gift of the Oversoul. Something like that.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me just find it. So yeah, the Gift of the Oversoul was Shield of the Oversoul. There it is.
There you go.
Yeah. Shield of the Oversoul is almost equally as infuriating, but at least you can maybe pretend to race a 7/7 flying indestructible. Still probably can't, but yeah. I remember a game where you put Cloak and Shield of the Oversoul, so it was just absolutely unkillable. And that was the other thing too with Enlisted Worm, is it's 6 mana. So you think, okay, it's expensive. That means if he casts it and I kill it, like, he won't be able to replay it that often, but that's just not how your deck worked. You had infinite mana every game. Like, and sometimes killing Enlisted Worm was a good thing for you. Like, you were happy to pay 8 mana to replay this thing to get even more value and have still the biggest creature in play. Like, that deck was crazy, and Armadillo Cloak just launched it into the stratosphere every time you played it.
Also, quick aside, this is a card that, Kyle, you gave me a foil version of, because my Enlisted Worm deck is completely foiled out, and so I have a Swank one in Enlisted Worm, so it's that's pretty cool. Little
I do remember that. Yeah, I forgot I had the foil Armadillo Cloak. Yeah, I'll take that back, actually. I don't mind taking that from you at this point.
No!
No take backs. Once you give this to me, you can't take this back. Yeah.
Yeah, Armadillo Cloak is a nasty card. I mean, Trample and I know it's not literally lifelink, but it's essentially Trample and lifelink, which is a rude combo.
Yeah,
And yeah,
to put it
in
lightly.
green white, there's so many other cards that support this type of play. Like yeah, it can be really nasty to deal with, like you guys have said. And yeah, I also have fond memories of being destroyed by this card by Carver. So good pick.
All right, well, I guess that's it. I thought there was another enchantment that wasn't Armadillo Cloak, but it was extremely similar.
Unflinching Courage.
Okay, but it's an uncommon, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
and it's Dragon's Maze, and it's an uncommon.
Yeah,
that or
I
Gate
see
Crash, but one of
them. Okay.
yeah. But it just,
Nice.
again,
All
shows
right.
you the power level of the card. When they reprint the almost same card, they have to print it at a common. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
This card
Gotta
probably
up-
would never be reprinted at common again.
No.
Maybe, but
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, we know Taylor likes it because it was his favorite too. So what's
Yeah.
your...
All I'll add is that it incentivizes the gameplay that I love in Magic the Gathering, and that is big dude, and offense is also defense. So
Yep, Timmy
why I
style.
love it.
I'm sure this would be in Ian's Galta deck if he had if he could put it in there.
If he had the
classic.
balls.
Yeah, if he had
to break the rules.
If he had the stones, he would, but yeah, all right, Taylor, what's your number 4? Good pick,
Arc
Carver.
Lightning.
so
My favorite card that is the number 4 of the common variety is Arc Lightning.
Whoa.
Remember Arc Lightning?
Yeah.
I have Scryfall up here.
I think you're not streaming though, so we can't see it.
Yeah, so I would say it's from. I couldn't remember if it was from Urza Saga or which of the Urza's thing it was, but it's Urza Saga. 2 colors and a red sorcery. Arc Lightning deals 3 damage divided as you choose amongst any 1, 2, or 3 targets. And I don't know. I just think when it was relevant. This is probably when I was just playing kitchen table Magic, so it didn't really count. But it just felt so. This used to feel like the most powerful thing in the world.
Oh,
was
yeah.
the 3 for 1. It gets rid of a lot of what was a lot of the most powerful creatures in Magic are X1s. It feels like, and it just is I think it's the first time I think I remember seeing a card be able to kill so many things at once. To be a one-sided thing. It's not a Wrath of God. This is just. It also lets you hit face. It's super flexible. I always valued cards that have modal options or up to, that kind of thing. It's not very powerful, but when you think about it in a limited format, how often 3 damage that you can just arc in any direction is insane. Yeah, I don't have too much to say other than that's why I got cut. I realized it didn't have a lot of emotional attachment.
I see.
Didn't have a lot of, but it's just a cool card that I liked. So, Arc
Dude,
Lightning.
I'll just jump in and say I do love how flexible this card is. It always, always, always gets value. If they have one big creature, it sucks to pay 3 to deal 3 at sorcery speed, but it can kill the bigger creature if you need it to. Or if they've played a bunch of goblins, just wiping them all out like they're nothing feels so good. Killing a 2 toughness guy and a 1 toughness guy. It just feels awesome. And I love the art. It looks like a dude shoving a sword through the guy's mouth. With the way the art is. I know it's like you know what I'm talking about? For those who are seeing it and who listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's supposed to be he's stabbing it through him to make it like a lightning rod, so he gets struck by the lightning.
He's got hair that's standing up straight because he's like a monk-looking
ponytail.
dude, but with the way the one guy's grabbing him, it just looks like he shoved a sword through his mouth and it's coming out the back of his head.
You're right, I see.
But yeah, no, Arc Lightning, simple, classic card. Yeah, I remember playing with this. And then Electrolyze came out in Ravnica, and I was like, oh, Arc Lightning's not my friend anymore. Electrolyze is my new best friend.
Yeah, no, Arc Lightning's really cool. I'm glad you picked this one, Taylor, because I've played. I feel like I've seen this in so many games playing against other people in casual Magic, and yeah, it's always super super fun to play against, and or I shouldn't say fun, it's nasty to play against sometimes, but like yeah, it's so good at what it does. It's a really nice burn spell to be able to target, yeah, 2 or 3 different creatures, or just burn your opponent for 3 damage if you need to. It's great.
Yeah. My experience with this card is from Kanza Tarkir yet again, in because it's reprinted as an uncommon yet again, another theme where it's the stronger cards get reprinted at higher rarities later. But yeah, it's so frequently this card is either a 2-for-1, or it's like a 2-for-2 in which your smaller creature that you attacked with and dealt damage to one of their larger creatures helps you trade up for a big creature. So it's like a 2-for-2, but like a good 2. It's hard to maybe conceptualize that, but it's like it's doing the more strong half of the 2-for-2, the heavy lifting of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Arc Lightning, super super powerful. Or love this card. Good pick, Taylor. Love it.
Nice. All right. I'll just go ahead then, since Arc Lightning is a simple pick. Not much to say there. My pick, however, is extremely complex and cool. Just kidding.
Lightning
but
bolt.
My fourth favorite is Nameless Inversion.
Ooh.
This was one of the most loaded commons ever. I fucking love this card. It's called Nameless Inversion. It's 1 colorless, 1 black. It is a tribal instant shapeshifter changeling. Target creature gets +3, -3, and loses all creature types until end of turn. What's significant about this card, right? Of course, it's 2 mana +3, -3. So almost all the time it's a kill spell, right? -3 toughness kills so many things. That's really strong. There's edge cases where you could like pump up a larger one of your creatures that might not be blocked, like a 4/4 or something, and turn it into a 7/1 and then just chunk them. But what's so absurdly cool about this card is that this is when they introduced tribal spells, which is now called Kindred, because apparently the word tribe is offensive. So this is a tribal instant, and that basically means an instant or sorcery has a creature type, which obviously normally they don't. So what they used to do is there's a card called Tarfire, for instance. It's 1 red mana, do 2 damage, but it has a creature type of goblin. So what's awesome about Nameless Inversion is that it has every creature type because it's a changeling, and changeling means it's every creature type. So if you have a card that says, search your deck for an elf and put it into your hand, suddenly you can go get a kill spell, Nameless Inversion, because it's technically an elf. Or if you have a card that says return a zombie from your graveyard to your hand, guess what's in there? Nameless Inversion. It's a zombie instant, so you can return this zombie spell to your hand. Like, this card, it's one of those cards where you read it and you, like, every line, you just go like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like, it just kind of... It's one of those Magic cards that just, like, explodes my mind, really. Where it's like, holy shit, they can do anything with this game. It's crazy. And this card is so creative. It's really fairly priced. So it's super, super... it's an aggressive card. It went in a lot of my decks for a long time. Sadly, at this point, it's kind of been phased out. Things like Defile just embarrass this card. Like, you would never play Nameless Inversion now. Especially on top of the fact that... tribal stuff just isn't that used anymore. Like, you don't really see goblin themed decks. You just see like aggro decks. So anyways, Nameless Inversion, I have fond memories of playing this card. I even have like the special full art version of it. Yeah, just cool card, really powerful. Love the creativity from this thing. It just does so much. Great art, great cost, great everything. 4th favorite card. Common, sorry.
Yeah, I actually almost put this on my honorable mentions. It was just barely not on my list, but I love this card too. It's in one of my Pauper EDH decks. It's also so cool, like you mentioned, being able to search for, the creature, the cards that allowed you to search for an elf card or a goblin card. Or whatever.
You have
That's
this in your mono
too.
black zombie deck. Yeah, that's right.
And I have it in my
or maybe more.
Golgari elf deck.
Okay, there you go. Even better, yeah.
But it's also great because there's cards that have when you cast a goblin spell, or when you cast a whatever creature spell, and this will trigger those as well. yeah, it's a cool card. I love the design. I think the art is really sweet, and the name is really
Oh,
cool
it's so
too.
good.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, it's just a badass card.
And no one has any other thoughts. All
I
right.
just
I
feel
just
like
didn't want to interrupt.
it's all been covered. Yeah, for me.
No,
Yeah.
I have stuff to say
Oh, go.
about this. I just don't like trying to talk over anybody. I'm trying to show some
What?
sort of restraint.
Since when?
I
Go ahead.
love this card for a lot of the reasons that, like, I don't really give a shit about how good it is. Like, who cares? Who plays
Right,
Magic cards
yeah.
because they're good? But it evokes the spirit of what I think puts Magic as something that, like, felt special to me, is that, like, this card is really weird
Yeah.
if you understand the rules of the game, and the ways that it's weird makes your brain, like, think of, like, it's the edge case card. Like, how often you have to be like there might be an errata for a specific interaction because of this stupid idiot. It's technically like a kobold because of that reason.
Yep.
Like, and like, it's just, this game is so annoyingly complex, and everything just is so interactive. And what I love about Changeling is that this thing is forever. No matter what they do to the game, Changeling still matters.
Right.
And I love this idea of, like, thinking of this weird spell as a creature type and how much that affects other cards tangentially. I think it's something that prior to this set, no one even thought of as, like, why haven't they done this? Tarfire was, like, my number 6 because it's,
Oh, okay.
what if Shock was cool?
Yeah.
Like, not Shock but good, it's Shock but cool.
Right.
And like, to me, this is like, this dude fucks, is like the way I can explain in terms of the scale of coolness of, like, and it just evokes this level of, like, these types of designs and the art and the name. What the fuck is this name, dude?
Yeah. Nameless inversion.
Chat GPT could never.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just like, so it's so
it's
evocative of, like, nothing in particular, but of a very specific Magic the Gathering thing. And, like, this is when I talk about, like, I want them to make, what is old Magic? It's like, I don't know, whatever this card says to me is what I think of when I think fondly of that nostalgic era. It's just like, whatever this card is evoking. So, yeah, those are just some random thoughts I have.
Nice. Yeah, and there's even that last line, all the target creature loses all creature types. So there's, like, for how many edge cases this card creates, there's yet another one where you can, like, let's say something is big enough and it's a goblin getting pumped by other goblin lords or something, and it's like a 5 toughness, but suddenly you give it -3 toughness and losing creature types. Now it loses the buffs from the other goblin things, and then it can actually die. So, like, loses all creature types is not also irrelevant. Like, it is relevant sometimes. So just, yeah, top to bottom, every single line of this card just, like, blows your mind. It's like, what? Yeah.
And, like, that's actually something that I think is really cool, to back up what I was saying. Like, even outside of, like, gameplay specific interaction, is just, like, the concept that a creature type mattering is just, like, a very unique to Magic. Like, that feels like an alpha design. You know how, like, they used to care about what color spells were?
Yeah.
Like, now it doesn't really, when you see that on card text, that's not a positive or a negative. It's just like, this is flavor text, is basically what a lot of people see, that kind of stuff. So that's the Magic thing, I think, in here. The losing all creature types is, like, it doesn't matter almost in any other format. That obviously it was in, like, kind of a creatures matter format, but, like, in a vacuum, the creature losing all creature types doesn't matter, and it's just cool.
Yeah.
I wish it was my mom.
Yep. Nameless inversion would be a cool mother. All right.
really cool card.
D-Boy, you're up. Number 3.
All right. Number 3. My number 3 pick is another low-cost artifact.
Yeah.
It's from Mirrodin, 2003, Aether Spellbomb. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a one generic mana artifact. You can pay 1 blue mana to sacrifice it and return target creature to its owner's hand, or 1 colorless mana, or I should say 1 generic mana, sacrifice it, and draw a card. This card is so much fun to play. It feels awesome to get it on the board turn one, and now your opponent just always has to worry about you returning their best creature to their hand at the most inopportune time. It is really annoying to deal with. A lot of the time you end up just using it to draw a card, but it can be used to bluff your opponent or to actually, really screw with their turn. I love the spell bomb, all the spell bombs. They're really cool. I love the art on this one. I think this one fits it's a colorless artifact, but it's blue, right? It's got a blue ability. I think this one fits the colors that it represents the best of all the spell bombs. And I honestly always look forward to just putting this in pretty much any deck that I can because it's great. I love it.
I almost put this spell bomb also on my list, Daniel. I this exact one, so I think that's even crazier. As I think this is an interesting thing so far. As someone who had no affinity for commons, how many of the commons that I was circling are the ones you guys are as well. So I don't know. There's something to be said about that being a well designed. I also love that Mirrodin is this special spot in between the card frame update and also the set where they made all the colored symbols artifacty, so they have their own unique look. I just think that's so cool about all the Mirrodin block artifacts. They just look slightly different than every other artifact after.
Yeah, the grayscale everything sort of.
Yeah.
Which
I will point out, I'll be the dork that says I believe mana symbols were always like that. I don't think mana symbols had color.
Really?
Like before Mirrodin?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I guess I always assumed they did.
Well, I would say don't take either of our sides. Let's see. One of us is wrong, and I just don't want it to be me. I'm just saying, don't give up on me, boys. There's a chance I'm right.
Maybe you're right. Well, no, you're right, because Bog Witch is from before Mirrodin, and it has black symbols.
Thank you. I just love how when Kyle put down in there, both people are like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're right." It's like, all right, hold on.
No, they asked. They wondered.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was pretty.
Yeah, no, I was skeptical. I was skeptical for sure.
No, you should say, "Fuck you, Kyle." No, don't be polite to Kyle. Kyle, you're dumb. Prove it, idiot.
Aether Spellbomb's dope. I love Aether Spellbomb. Another one of these super flexible picks. This isn't something that I love to do, but in Commander, there's a certain politicking that can happen when somebody drops an Aether Spellbomb and it's just there on the table the whole time, kind of threatening people. In a way, with multiple players, it kind of gets a little weird. Like, hey, well, if you bounce his thing, because they see it, right? They know you have it. So if you bounce his thing, then I'll do something else. Very flexible card. Love. I have a lot of. This was in Modern Masters 1, and I did a few drafts of Modern Masters 1, and this card was a key for some of the affinity decks I built in draft. So, and it's made it into a bunch of other Pauper EDH decks. So yeah, I built the one Pauper deck I did make what was that? The Eldrazi Hippogriff. What was that card again? We talked about it before with the merge. But this deck was this card was like the kind of colorless blue
Wretched Griff.
Yeah, Wretched Griff. This I had 4 of this card in that deck as like a way to return creatures and then also draw cards because I felt like the late game was better in my deck than others. So I felt like if I could stem the bleeding or draw cards, I'd have a better time winning. So that was in a Pauper format. So anyway, I love Aether Spellbomb. Super cool card. Good choice, Daniel. Love it.
Thanks, Carter.
Yeah, the Spellbomb cycle is cool, and as always, the blue one is way better than all the fucking other ones. They love to do that. Make the blue of the cycles just infinitely better.
Yeah, all the artifacts got to be good, and the blue artifacts got to be even better.
By rule.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't have too much to say other than sometimes these kind of bounce spells or these combat tricks that are in play already actually make the game harder for your opponent. You'd think telegraphing what you can do would simplify gameplay patterns, but it actually complicates it a lot instead of just someone playing into your unsummon, right? They don't know you have it, so they just have to play their creatures and you unsummon it. And it's like, okay, sure, yeah, bounce that. All right, let's move on. But now this thing being in play, being heads up, it just adds this whole new factor of like, fuck, can I play this and like bait him to sack it, to bounce it? And then like, let's say you make the less optimal play and then they end up sacking Spellbomb to draw a card anyway because they don't care about the creature you played because they have a different answer. And you're like, fuck, now I wasted my turn like doing something suboptimal, trying to play around this thing. And yeah, like the heads up combat tricks are always really fun. Really make the game way more interesting.
And
reminds me of Executioner's Capsule, which teetered onto my list on and off it.
That's another one I thought about.
Piggybacking on your like the gameplay element, it's also interesting how this card, like what I have felt personally is when somebody has this in play, and then maybe I've played around it a little bit, but when they sack it to draw a card, I'm always like, you know, like there's a like, I don't have to reinvest my 5 mana into recasting my creature. Like you just chose to draw a card. Like it's just a sign that I don't know. It's just clearly this card is like that onboard presence has that fear element to it, and then I'm like relieved when it goes away. So yeah.
Or it can be more fear-inducing, like, oh my god, this thing isn't even a big enough threat for them to want to bounce it? Oh lord. Like, what do they have in their hand? Oh no.
Yeah, another cool angle, yeah. Oh my god.
Nice. All right, so Carver, you're up. Number 3.
Number 3. Oh no, I didn't actually put mine in any order. I'm just going on what I want to talk about. So.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, of course. Frantic Search. Fuck yes. Sorry, I spoiled it. Whoops.
I would assume this is on. I mean, this has to be one of the top commons. This card is ridiculous. So, Frantic Search is a blue instant. Obviously, it's blue. It's 2 generic mana and 1 blue to draw 2 cards, then choose and discard 2 cards, and then untap up to 3 lands. I don't know why it says up to 3 lands. It seems like you would pretty much always want to just do all 3. But regardless, this card is insane. I think the worst mode of this card, a free careful study that's an instant, is just still really, really, really good. And then the scalability of this card is ridiculous if you're playing with discard synergies. Obviously being able to reanimate stuff, or if your deck cares about a certain card type number in your graveyard or whatever, being able to put the 2 cards in the graveyard and get that extra buff, amazing. And then untapping 3 lands. I mean, come on, like there's obviously lands that can tap for more than 1 mana. So being able to untap your Tolarian Academies or your Nykthos Shrine to Nyx or, you know, whatever, and being able to reuse them, absolutely bonkers. This card also, I've seen do really cool things like fix mana. Like if you have only 1 green mana, but you have 4 total lands and a double green spell, you can tap the green mana, use the other 3 mana to play Frantic Search, untap that first green mana, so you can like weirdly fix mana with this card. Frantic Search is just absolutely insane. It's obviously really good in Storm, so where I played this card the most is in a Calamax, the Stormsire EDH deck, and in that deck, this card was an absolute house, unbelievably powerful. I also have nightmares of this card playing against Kyle's Pauper EDH deck Electrode, so because this card just allowed him to like have like, especially if he had a card like Goblin Electromancer in play where you make it cheaper, you're actually mana positive. God.
And then you pair it with Is It Boilerworks? Oof.
Just absolutely disgusting. This card can do some absolutely insane things. Frantic Search, extremely powerful. Love this card as a result of that. So it's my, I guess, number 3, but there you go.
That's crazy. Yeah. This is on my bottom 5 favorite common cards. For the exact spiel you just gave is the exact reason why I hate this entire cycle. Can go fuck itself. You should have to pay full for your lands. Going infinite is boring and lame, and anyone who likes combos can eat my farts.
It ain't infinite. It's 1 card. It's not like it taps or untaps itself or replays itself.
Taylor, you're right. It totally doesn't. You're
Taylor coming out on fire. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm not going to hug box this dog shit design, man. Fuck this.
Dude, the card is so good. It's
look,
so cool.
untap
Carver
a land.
just illustrated like how unique and powerful and cool it is. You're like, no, I fart on it. Fuck this card.
No, but that I'm not disagreeing. What I'm saying is specifically how much this does makes it like, I don't know. I find power in a vacuum like bad for like, I don't like this card because of how uniquely powerful it is. Because it devalues like the rest of it, just does so much. The fact this is free on its own is dumb. Like, why wouldn't you play this in every deck ever? I know what it enables, but that seems too powerful, doesn't that, like, it just seems confusing to me how you could see this and be like, oh, it's good that this is completely free.
Well,
This
there's
isn't
one simple answer, and that it's card disadvantage. You have to spend the card to draw 2 to discard 2. If you top deck this, it does nothing for you.
It is
obviously
free
one card in hand. Yeah, it's free. It's free card disadvantage. True.
But, like, sure, card disadvantage in a vacuum, but this card is not being put in a way that, like, sure, it is only explicitly useless when you top deck it when you have no cards in hand. I will concede that is a lever that's in there.
There is one downside, and that is it.
And what it does
to be
is
fair,
basically it turns, you get to keep the best 2 out of 4 cards, is what that says, which is a lot better than just saying, oh, you have a disadvantage. But a lot of times it's like, most of the time when you're frantically searching, you're looking for the one answer, not just for like, well, what would put me ahead? I'm looking for a piece. What card, where is that card? I'm looking for the card I need. And it lets you do that at no real risk to yourself. Now, if you get counterspelled, obviously you get blown out. But most spells are bad if they don't get cast. I don't know if that inherently makes this good or bad, but
fair.
And in some
fair,
ways,
yeah.
I am exaggerating my dislike for it in terms of like being more interesting than everyone just being like, "Wow, this is objectively awesome." But I do think that this is something I don't love in this era of Magic and current Magic is like cards should cost you things. Nothing should ever just be like, "Oh, this piece of cardboard just turned into more for free." Without some kind of... If you had an enchantment in play that says if you cost a spell that costs 3 or more untap lands, at least you had to commit more than one piece. This thing is... That's why I don't like... It's the same reason I don't like Adventure, I guess. So it's not that I think that it's bad as much as at least I'm consistent internally of why I don't like it. I think it's just too much value stapled on land. In a standard in which, like, Tolarian Academy and Gaia's Cradle were in the same goddamn block, Kyle. It's not like the design was like, oh, how could you go infinite with this thing? Goddamn, look at the set it was printed in, and it's like, all right. So those are a couple of the reasons I'm like, I don't love this thing. Because, like, you take the untapped 3 lands out of here, and, like, the card's not remarkable, but, like, that's why we're freaking out about it.
It is unplayable
what do you think,
if
Taylor,
you take out the untapped.
Do you think there's a level of untapped lands that you think would be like?
Oh yeah, untap all land, untap target basic, untap 3 basic lands.
No. Okay. So you're saying like one or just narrow it.
I think the concept is that this is free and abusable so easily without extra effort from you is why this thing is dumb. Because you don't have to try and go infinite with it. It's just like, oh, are you playing non-basic lands that do anything interesting? Of fucking course you are. So you get 3 extra uses of them, and you get to keep cards, and you're probably playing a deck that wants cards in your discard pile, or cards you don't need. Like, it just seems so efficient, and there's no one who can be like, well, it's totally... Like, we're talking about most overpowered commons, I'm with you, but this is why I don't like the card, and I'm just... grumpy old man yells at kids going infinite. Zoomers, like, I just don't like. I hate combo decks. Like that's just my personal dislike.
Chill. Hold on. Stop. I'm stopping you now. This card in our group has never ever been played to do a combo. Never. This is a Cedrus, Cedrus the Trader King staple in my deck. It is almost exclusively always used as just a free Faithless Looting or free Careful Study. Draw 2, discard 2. That's all it does. And it's free instead of 1 mana like a Faithless Looting or 1 mana like Careful Study. Then sometimes I have a land that'll tap for 2, like I said in is it Boiler Works or like the bounce lands from the Ravnica cycle. Like, yeah, then I can profit 1 mana, but most of the time it's always card disadvantage. That's just a fact. You're discarding 2 and playing this to draw 2, so you're losing 3 cards for the upside of 2 cards. So in a vacuum, it is 100% always card disadvantage. Yes, obviously it's like good in Cedrus where I can discard my bombs, but there have been plenty games where I have Frantic Search and I'm just kind of like, this isn't what I need right now. Okay, I guess I play it just to kind of dig a little bit. Sometimes this card could just read Mill 2, like it's not super amazing all the time. 9 times out of 10, it's just a free Careful Study. But But yeah, I have fond memories of this card, obviously, because like, yeah, I do like that it's free, so I don't have to spend the mana to do it. But it's not card advantage. I don't gain a lot from it a lot of the times. It's yeah, I don't know.
You're talking weird about 0 mana draw 2 cards.
It's, oh my god, you discard too, dude. You're acting like it's just pure upside. It really is.
Well, I think Taylor's saying you would never play this in a deck that doesn't benefit from the discard in some way, or possibly benefit from the untap in some way. So like it's just, I get what you're saying, Taylor. That's very abusable. It's funny that you mentioned being consistent about not liking adventure and not liking this card, and I like adventure and like this card. So it's,
yeah, exactly. No, I think that, Kyle, like realistically, what you described makes it like we are saying the same things, and I'm saying, yeah, that makes it. This feels really powerful to me. That entire concept is being enabled because it says untap 3 lands, and I think that's just like what you're describing. Those scenarios that one card puts you in is like. The best it is a free spell of some kind. I was like, yeah, that's the problem. It's a free spell. I think 3 free spells are like unconditional free spells are a little just too much for me. And you're basically saying, yeah, it's a free spell, but like not that powerful of a free spell. And I'm really going to concede it's not always that powerful. I just think free spells in general are like just meh. I don't like that.
Yeah,
especially with if it's an untapped 3 basic lands, I'd have probably a lot less of a hate
and there are for sure times where this is indeed better than a free spell, obviously, like we're saying, when you can profit mana from it, you know, like when you're untapping a Tolarian Academy and doubling your mana. Yeah, it's better. But then there's that cycle of free spells, like if you control your commander, you can play this for free, and you can exile a creature, or you can counter a spell, like deflecting swat, I think is what that card is called, the one where you just like retarget a spell if you control your commander. Like that shit, those piss me off, where you go like, oh, my opponent is tapped out, he has no resources, sweet, like now I can do something. Just kidding, you have the literal free spell. Like those I despise. So I can see how this being like tangential to that would also, yeah, it's annoying. At least you do need to have 3 mana to play it first. Like, it isn't literally
You know what?
free.
That's a fair point. I didn't consider that cycle free spells. Like, you could literally trick your opponent with the yeah, now I get you. I'm with you on that.
But, like I just said, those don't enable you to gain something out of it, where, like you're saying, this does. Yeah, untapping a Tolarian Academy is ridiculous. So
I mean, deflecting swat is always a 2-for-1, really. So, deflecting swat's always like, stop your removal spell from killing my thing and kill your own thing.
And then kill your best thing instead.
So,
oops. Oops, it was free as well. Oops.
Yeah, oopsies.
My God. Oh, the worst. So, all right, wow. Contentious pick, Carver. What the hell, dude? You're supposed to be cool.
That's what I'm here for,
man. What's the deal with this?
Controversialness.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
Bye-bye.
All opinions heard. Yeah. Daniel's turn next. Or whose turn?
Is it back to me? No,
it's Taylor's.
Taylor's, dude.
Okay, so mine's a card it's pretty recent, and it's not gonna be that exciting. It's Behold the Multiverse.
Behold,
what the fuck is that?
It's just the play pattern of this very particular card, and I am obsessed with it. It is a instant 3 colorless and blue mana. Yeah. Scry 2. Then draw 2, but it has Foretell for colorless and blue. So if we reference our earlier historic museum-esque work, where I named that Foretell and pay now, pay for a discount later, as one of my favorite mechanics, this card makes it feel so good. How often in these blue-white, blue-X decks are you sitting on 2 mana sometimes where you're posing, do I have a counterspell or a draw spell in my hand to your opponent, and so that lets you dump this into a really powerful card selection thing, because this basically can get you almost 4 cards deep when you need that exact thing, and being able to like just be able to pay 2 up front makes this card feel so much more impactful than it looks. So this is a card that I think is better than the sum of its parts, because like individually it doesn't seem that exciting, but it feels really strong, and it doesn't feel like awful when it's done against you. Like, there are some, like, powerful spells that you see, and you're just like, oh my god, they're so far ahead now. But sometimes when you see this, you're like, well, I don't know. It's like, it doesn't feel as bad. You don't feel as you've lost the momentum quite as hard. I don't know. I love this card. It rules. But it's not like, that interesting. So if other people don't have much to say, kind of makes sense. It's just a draw card, but it's like kind of my favorite draw card I could find.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't have much to say. My one question is why does scry use the number but drawing spells out the number?
I can tell you the exact reason is because in the rules, scry is probably written as scry n, so n is a numeric value, where the draw in the rules is always probably written out as like a numeric, like one, the number 2. But like in the rules, it's because the rules is scry n, and n always has to be numeric.
But why? Why wouldn't draw be n as well?
Because that's probably not a keyword. That's more of just like it's telling you a game action.
Yeah, I guess because it also says cards. It's not just scry 2, draw 2. It's scry 2, then draw 2 cards. So it has.
Yeah.
When are they going to get rid of the word cards? That's my question. When are they going to?
They're getting close. Soon they're going to start being able to just put in symbols exclusively. We're going to start being like some really fancy European board games where their entire games is just various symbols with no words, and it's going to rule. We're going to learn Japanese on accident.
Go to the emoji text on all of our
Hell
cards.
yeah,
soon.
dude.
Oh no.
You know, I will say that Behold the Multiverse reminded me of a card in Kaldheim that I really liked in Sealed, which was that wolf that's a 4-mana 3/3. When it enters, you draw a card, but it also has foretell, so you can pay 2 up front and then...
Sir Rolf's Packmate?
Wow.
Yes, that is
why would you remember that? That's crazy.
Because it's one of the best limited cards from in that form.
Yeah.
It was just such a powerhouse that you see. It's like one of those on the bomb scale. It's close to a B than you'd think.
Yeah, it's like that card.
Bread,
it's like that common that you take over like a lot of rares or whatever, for your deck.
You're honestly like pretty good and happy to see it. So, but I know that I'm sure it's probably not played competitively in the poppery type stuff, but
Behold the Multiverse, it reminds me of a card that I do like, which is 4C, which came out in Time Spiral. And I remember when I read that card, it kind of blew my mind. Scry 4, draw 2. I was like, holy shit, you can see so many cards with this. What the hell?
Yeah,
it's
dude,
like
when you start getting those... there's something really powerful about Scry any number bigger than 1.
Yeah.
It just, especially when you get the 3s and 4s, it's just like, dude.
And you know what? Oh, go ahead, Carver.
I was going to ask about Behold the Multiverse. When do you ever cast this for 4 mana? Do you?
Almost never, unless you're
when you have 8 mana and it's it's turn 9 and you just need to get it.
Just like at the end of your opponent's turn, you just end with 7 mana untapped because you have 2 different counter spells open. And you're like, okay, well, I'll fill more. It's kind of because this deck usually ends up running. They had the Time Walk at the time that Time Walked, and if you foretold it, you get 2 1/1 birds. So you just like end up taking a bunch of turns with the bird tokens and have like 15 mana.
That card was so contentious because it was the buy a box promo, and they promised that they wouldn't make the buy a box promos powerful, and then here it was like the single most powerful card.
That's a different take a turn.
Is it?
You're thinking of that's Nexus of Fate, I believe.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah. This is Alrund's Epiphany, something like that.
That sounds right.
Is the one
That sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah, see, like I told you, I'm very familiar with this format.
Jesus, yeah.
So yeah, it was it's take an extra turn, but if you foretell it, you get 2 flying tokens. You chain those together, you end up with like a bunch of mana. You hard cast Behold the Multiverse a lot in that deck. But that's the only time is when it's like very, very late.
Yeah. Well, they're draw go decks,
7.
so if you say draw go and your opponent also says draw go, then you just behold at the end of their turn.
Yeah, I mean
it's a good word too, behold.
Mm-hmm.
I like that word.
This card is one thing I will say about this card is for 2 mana, like for the toss away 2 mana early game to just put it down as a face down card, and then to later on a super impactful turn to only have to pay 2 mana to scry 2 and draw 2. Wow,
crazy.
It's super powerful. Like it's sneaky, super powerful. You know what I mean? So,
and then you look at preordain and you're like, oh, never mind.
Just think about it. Is it lets you on turn 4? Normally, you'd have to commit your whole turn to it. Now you can commit to that and have counter magic open on the turn. That's like, it's such a subtle difference. Like, you're like, oh, it's 2 mana. What does that mean? Is like, no, it completely shifts the tempo of the whole game. Because, like, turn 4 and 5 is where, like, a lot of this tempo swings to one player or the other who kind of has the better board state. So being able to, like, refill and keep up protection, it's huge.
Daniel, thoughts?
Yeah, I really like this card, and I feel like I never really play with cards with these sort of pay now, get it later mechanics. I don't remember if I've ever had a card with, or any cards with those abilities in any of my decks, but I always love seeing people play with them. And like you're saying, being able to play this on turn two and then just having it open for later turns and completely changing the tempo of the game is pretty serious. And I feel like, yeah, it kind of like, later in the game, being able to play it for four, it's just an instant speed read the bones. And if you have plenty of mana for it, like that's, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it kind of turns itself into a spell bomb almost, right? You pay two, put it down. Your opponent sees you have something there. They can probably guess this is the card it is, and yeah, you can use it when you really need it. And it's outclassed by some of the other, cantrips and other draw spells in blue, but it's great. I like this card a lot.
Nice. Okay. Oh wait, it's my turn next. Oh shit. Sometimes. By the way, gonna do some quick.
Wait, hold. Isn't it Daniel next? Wasn't that
No.
the last number 3?
Kyle's got to do his number 2.
No, I think it's Kyle. I did. I started, so it was me, and then Carver, and then you, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
so I'm going.
Oops.
Gonna try to do quick on the fly, maybe technical problem solving. Daniel, when you talk, is your laptop fan like blasting or something? Because there's quite a bit of fuzz whenever you speak. So maybe just try to investigate that while I talk about my next card or see what's going on.
Sounds good. I will do that.
Okay, my next card is Shambling Shell.
Nice.
A common from Ravnica, 1 generic mana, 1 black, 1 green. You can sacrifice it to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It has Dredge 3, and it's a 3/1. This card is one of my favorites because, again, it just does a lot of things, and how all of those things interact with each other is really interesting and fun. Also, of course, it's just nostalgic because this was my premier Ravnica deck that I would play against Taylor, my Golgari Dredge deck against his, Boros creatures or whatever he had back then. I don't remember anything. Boros. What other? Oh, you did Orzhov Haunt too when Guild Pact came out.
And I did Simic too, so I was all over the place.
Yes. But that was in Dissension as well. I just in actual Ravnica, I think all there was
Boros was. We definitely played Boros.
Yeah. Anyways, this card, tidbit, it used to be way more powerful because damage used to go on the stack, which they removed. I don't know when, maybe like an M10 or something. But so this card used to be insane value because you could block or attack. Before combat damage gets dealt, when combat damage is on the stack, you could then sacrifice this to put a counter on something, then damage would resolve. So this guy could get his damage in and get his sacrifice effect, and then next turn you're ready to dredge him right back into your hand and redo it all again. So he was just like endless value, very, very strong. Then they remove damage on the stack, and it just plummets a card like this, plummets its power. But yeah, Shambling Shell is just one of my classics, one of my favorites. I love the art. I love the feel of this card. It was extraordinarily powerful back in the time, even for a common. It just felt really good to play. It was on par with Stinkweed Imp, which is another Dredge card. Dredge 3 is like enough where it feels like it can really get your engine going. Whereas there was some Dredge 2 cards that, like, when you Dredge 2 and you hit double land, you're just kind of like, ugh, and it just feels bad. But Dredge 3 was like that sweet spot where it started really kind of tipping your deck into Value Town. And yeah, Shambling Shell, one of my favorites.
This card used to be so filthy. And it still is really cool. I love seeing this card on your list. I love aggressive Golgari cards like this. And Dredge is such a great mechanic. Yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts overall. I just think it's a really fucking cool card. And yeah, like you said, the art is awesome.
Sakura Tree Elder for the same reason of like back on damage on the stack. That was one of my favorite things to do. So I love this exact thing for. I do. I don't have anything other to say other than fuck you. That Golgari deck felt so powerful, man. This thing, the fact that like not only could you do the whole like chump block grow, but then get it back.
Yeah,
it's very cool. It was a very powerful little dirtler.
Yep. Dredge Shambling Shell, replay Shambling Shell. That was my favorite favorite
Draw
thing to do.
go with upside.
I mean, this card is just filthy in combat, right? I mean, it's just like if you have one creature and another creature, it just feels really inevitable in a way. You can just keep growing your stuff. If they can't attack into you very well because you can block this and sack and make another guy bigger. They can block something else, and then when you get this back, you just replay it. Like this card is, it feels a little less dirtily than like Stinkweed Imp in a way because you can grow your creature while you're dredging and like get aggressive or something. Yeah, it's proactive. Shambling Shell is really cool, so I like this card. Like 3/1, just so it's really deadly.
Yeah.
Really strong card. Definitely support this card here. Also, shout out to Plant Zombie creature type. I feel like that's a really
love that
interesting creature typing.
Yeah. Yeah. Plant Zombie is really cool.
It's like this and Gruul, the Simic Guild. Those creature typings are so much fun to read. Of just like,
yep.
It's nonsense, but it rules. I love that Plant Zombies.
And
makes you feel things.
Going back to what you were saying, Taylor. To be fair, Boros with Radiance, it was just night and day the power difference between Dredge and Radiance. Like they have reprinted. They have not reprinted Radiance or Dredge for complete polar opposite reasons. Dredge is so fucking powerful, they never want to bring it back. And Radiance was so stupidly weak that they're like, we don't even want to attempt to rework this and bring it back. So, like, they both had problems in that complete opposite spectrum. So, yeah.
And they were right, and they were correct. They were correct to not bring both of them back. I agree. They made the right call on that.
Yeah.
This era of gold card, just so much nostalgia. Like, even without the text, man, just seeing this image, just the black-green color.
I know, right?
Crappy stats for the mana cost. Like, I'm home.
I even loved doing, like, it even has value where you can go, if there's kind of a stalemate, like, your opponent goes, okay, end my turn. It's like, all right, end of your turn, sack Shambling Shell, put a counter on something. My turn, Dredge Shambling Shell, replay it, play a different card from my hand. So, like, you still get to play stuff and do things while at the same time, like Carver says, grow your creatures, be proactive, and just kind of, like, stop your opponent from doing anything. But, yeah, damage on the stack, like I said, made this card particularly insane. Now, obviously, way, way, way less powerful, but it's still really fun, and it goes in any kind of graveyard-related Golgari deck that I have in Pauper. Any of my Pauper EDH Golgari decks, this is in. It's in my, oh my god, why can't I think of his name, dude? You guys know him, the guy where you can discard a creature to put a counter on him, and for a black, you regenerate him? Yes. Yeah, so Shambling Shell is in that deck. Anyways, Shambling Shell, yeah, nice. Danny boy, your turny.
All right, back to me. My number 2 pick is from Eventide 2008.
Yes!
Unmake. I love this card so much. So it's a hybrid cost black-white mana. It's three hybrid black-white mana instant. The text is very simple. It just says exile target creature. I love this is like to me like the coolest removal spell of all time. It's really good. It is also the perfect blend of a white card and a black card. Like I feel like this card could have been printed as just white or just black and it would have been totally fine. Even the name Unmake is so good for a removal spell that it's kind of ominous sounding, but it's not exactly gruesome, like black removal spells. You've got Murder and Doomblade, but Unmake is just like sort of this, it's sort of a passive, like even, it's not even suggesting anyone did it. It's just this passive removal, right? And yeah, I love it. It's so cool. The art is awesome. And they're just looking into this mirror that takes away their soul. Yeah, it's sweet. I love this card.
I'm going to jump in right away and comment on you talking about the word unmake, because it's something I absolutely adore this card. It was on my list briefly, and then it got knocked off over time. But yeah, Unmake. The name is it is so ominous. It's so creepy because, like, you know, Doomblade or Murder, it's like you're cutting something down, you're destroying something, but Unmake is like you're just erasing it. It's disappearing, and that is it. It's much more evocative. And the fact that it exiles the creature instead of destroy it too, it is like, yeah, it's just a great word for it, ominous. It's such a creepy card when you really like think about what it's doing. And yeah, the art is so cool. It's a Kithkin looking into a mirror, but his actual body is shattering like a piece of glass, where his image in the mirror is still full. So yeah, like Daniel said, it's like the mirror is stealing your being, and you're just gonna fucking disappear and be stuck in a mirror forever. Like, yeah, really, really cool card. Absolute classic. I used to play this in my black-white Kithkin deck back when Shadowmoor came out, because it was premier removal. Exiling it was so powerful. Because even back then, yeah, graveyard shenanigans existed, and this just completely got rid of it. Yeah. And by the way, this was before exile was a keyword, so the card originally said remove target creature from the game, which is a really cool sentence on a card.
Yeah, slightly more ominous.
So
Yes.
something I also just want to add to circle this all the way back to gameplay is the name of the card actually explains what makes it different than just Doomblading, because specifically you don't get kill effects. And that's something that I think a lot of people forget, is when you exile it, like, that's what makes that so much more powerful than destroy. And by you unmaking it, that's almost like a better example. It's like, it doesn't die, it just never existed. And like, I think that's almost like a really cool way to, even the name evokes why the rule, like why this is different than a murder and why it doesn't trigger kill effects. I don't know. Just a nice little connection I made while you guys were talking.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And then the very next year, they're like, what if we made this exact card and just removed 2 mana from the cost and called it Path to Exile? Will this be fair? Will this be a balanced removal spell?
Well, they did add the
you
whole...
get a land!
At least there's something, all right?
Yeah, dude. God.
I do like... Have you guys... I know the podcast is long, but I do like what they've updated the new Wraths to do now. Instead of just exiling, it says, you know, everything loses indestructible, then destroy everything. Because I feel like exile should be a premium, like, a big deal. You see the word exile, you should be like, whoa, this card exiles, hold up. It shouldn't be this nothing, because I think it's so powerful. Because I also have some thoughts about it for my number 2 card coming up, which I don't know if it's going to get here, but...
Carver's next. If he has thoughts, share them now or forever hold your peace.
I mean,
or else I'll get Unmade.
For real. No, Unmake is great.
I'm going to target you with this.
I love Unmake, love the art. Really strong card. I would only be echoing what everyone else has said. It's amazing. Good pick, Daniel, for sure.
Nice. All right, Carver. Get going.
Fine. Okay. It's this.
Oh, yeah.
So this...
That might be my sickest transition ever.
So let's call it the second favorite is Vines of the Vastwood. Second favorite comment, Vines of the Vastwood. A single green mana for an instant, or you can pay an additional green mana for a kicker cost, and this spell says target creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control this turn. If Vines of the Vastwood was kicked, that creature gets +4/+4 until the end of turn. This card is insane. First of all, the art is super unbelievably cool. It's like the vines are making his like muscles and blood vessels explode, and in the back of the art, I don't even know if it's an elf guy, right? Just making him like super buff and strong. In effect, this card is extremely flexible. It's probably my favorite like protection or hexproof effect. But it also can stop your opponent from targeting their things too. So it's like kind of a counter spell in a lot of ways. Like if, for example, your opponent tries to target their creature with Armadillo Cloak, you can just Vines their creature and it fizzles.
Who's done that?
I don't know.
Who's done that to you before?
I couldn't say who. But and then in addition, it's like one of the biggest blowout spells ever. Like you attack your opponent in combat, they try to remove your creature. Okay, I'm actually going to make it so your removal spell doesn't do anything. and because I kicked it, now my guy's a 9/9 or whatever. It's like this spell is just such
disgusting.
It's so disgusting, absolutely ridiculous.
Fucking disgusting.
That's what Evelyn says. So I had to. But anyway,
Wait, she says disgusting?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was a joke because that's what
I
Bam
love
Margera
that.
says in Jackass. So we've always said disgusting.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's but she's since learned, I think, but now that she's learned all these other words. But anyway, Vines of the Vastwood, unbelievable, powerful card. Lots of fond memories playing this in Pauper. So definitely think it's one of my top commons.
Yeah, this card is sweet. I love the flexibility of using it as like a pseudo counter spell. I had a deck that it was in my sideboard for a while for that purpose, and it feels amazing. It feels so good just fizzling your opponent's spell for 1 mana.
Especially on like MTGO, where you can see them reading this card and being like, why are they targeting my creature with Vines of the Vastwood? I don't understand. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's all we all have to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have anything to say new.
It's
so
a
cool. Green card that's powerful.
Yeah. It's
cool.
It's the uniqueness of target creature can't be the target of spells or abilities. The fact that is not errata to hexproof, it stays like we're talking about, where you can target your opponent's stuff to prevent your opponent from targeting it with their own beneficial things. Like, I don't know if that was an intended if they wanted this card to be used like that. I think they had to have, right? Because this was in Zendikar. At this point, they were specifying like target creature you control, target creature opponent controls. They had to have known that this could be used in cool cases like that. Although, at the same time, maybe not, because Path to Exile, you can target your own creature with that to give yourself lands if you wanted ramp. So was this... Now that I'm talking about it out loud, was this before they kind of started differentiating your creatures and your opponent's creatures more commonly?
I don't know. Was Path after or before this? It was after, right?
It was after. It was in Conflux. But I'm saying, like, that's what I'm saying. In this time period, they weren't... I think if Path to Exile was printed today, it would probably say target creature your opponent, like exile target creature your opponent controls or something, right? Like, that's how blink effects were. You could blink anything. Then they realized how good that was. So now there's all the blink spells are exile a creature you control, return it to play. At least a lot of them anyway. But regardless, I'm just kind of rambling about it. I don't really know. They haven't even reprinted a card like this, though, since. Like, even one that just says, target creature you control gains hexproof, and if you kick it, it gets +4/+4. Like, the power level of this card is off the charts, and they've never printed something that close. Like, maybe Snakeskin Veil or something is close. That's the card name, right? Where it gets hexproof and a counter and indestructible.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, Snakeskin Veil.
They also have other effects.
Anyways.
Like this isn't the best probably protection spell. Like you'd probably play, Veil of Summer. I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting that are like, that's probably a better version of protecting your card. Yeah, but this card is obviously just nutty. It's very flexible, so pretty cool. And yeah, you're right. They have not printed +4/+4, 2 green, +4/+4.
Yeah. Plus protection effect. No, they have not done that.
Yeah. Vines.
All right, Taylor, your turn.
I don't know if you're ready.
Oh, we're ready, baby.
It's Oblivion Ring.
Yeah,
nice.
So what the reason I picked Oblivion Ring is about kind of more what it represents of white removal being very evocative and like unique in that they've come up with different ways for different colors to represent the same kind of intended effect of I don't want this thing in my way anymore. And white does it by locking it from existence. But it used to be a rest, right? Where it would make it so it can't attack or block or use abilities, but now there's so many things that just have static abilities that just their presence on the field is something. So now they get to remove it from the board permanently as long as there's enchantments in play. That's the downside. It's a much more powerful removal, but it's technically temporary. And I think Oblivion Ring just sounds cool as hell. I think it also creates powerful I like cards that if you want to use them in their not intended ways, that you could find something interesting. The fact that you can exile your own stuff might be relevant. It can make it so like destroying Oblivion Ring could be bad. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of cool applications for it. I think it's a cool representation of how white is got its own kind of unique identity amongst other colors. Oblivion Ring also was at my high school graduation without even asking, so it's always looking out for me. So I don't know how you could say anything bad about him.
Nice. Yeah, Oblivion Ring was it's such a weird effect too. It was obviously it was the first time they printed anything like this, I think. I mean, there's probably some obscure card I don't know of where... No, they did do a cycle of creatures that would, like, exile something until they left.
This is definitely not the...
Oh, yeah.
I think this is the most clean they've made it, or
Yeah.
the least weird, and the most, like, just powerful of hitting anything.
Yeah, except the other thing is, too, this is the card that really taught me about how... It enhanced my knowledge of the stack and how separate abilities interact with each other, because, notably, this card, unlike something like Banishing Light, for instance, which is a 3-mana white enchantment that does the exact same thing, in essence, the difference here is that Oblivion Ring has an enter the battlefield trigger and a separate leave the battlefield trigger, whereas something like Banishing Light, it's all combined into one effect. And the significance of that is when you play something like Oblivion Ring or Journey to Nowhere, which also has a separate ETB and LTB, you can interact with your Oblivion Ring. So for instance, when its Enter the Battlefield effect is still on the stack, if you flicker Oblivion Ring, that first Enter the Battlefield stack will resolve, but because the Oblivion Ring has flickered and it is now a technical like new entity, the Leave the Battlefield effect never happens, and the first creature you exiled stays exiled forever. Then, on the new ETB, you target something else, and that new second target will come back if they kill Oblivion Ring. But, like, you can do really weird shit with Oblivion Ring and Blink effects that no other... Well, and Journey to Nowhere, of course. Oblivion Ring and Journey to Nowhere are the two exile enchantments that have specific separate triggers that you can really manipulate. It enhanced my knowledge of the game greatly, learning that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of cool synergies and stuff like that are hard to wrap your head around at first.
Yes. And I mean, even explaining it to somebody who might not quite understand is probably like, what the fuck are you even saying? But, trust me, it works.
It's loopholes is what we're talking about.
I mean, I remember
Effectively.
like having to be stepped through the very first time someone did this to me. I think they did it with the, like, you talked about, Kyle, with the Fiend Hunter. I think somebody like I played against in an FNM like had cast a Fiend Hunter, which is a very similar line to text, just for it's a creature and it has a enter the battlefield and a leave the battlefield, very similar to O-Ring.
Yes.
And it can only target creatures, but I remember when somebody like literally had to like say, I'm casting Fiend Hunter, targeting your thing. I'm using Restoration Angel to flicker Fiend, but they like literally, I remember like it was like this, I felt like I was going to school with that effect. And like this person had to just like step by step do it for me. O-Ring, obviously, in a very similar light. So, with timing and all that. So was it first? Is Lorwyn the first we saw O-Ring? So I was looking it up as we were talking about it. Okay.
Yes, it is. It is.
Is that when they...
There's so many cool cards from Lorwyn.
I know, man. Is that the first enchantment removal of this type? I was thinking about that because Journey was after. This like set a whole paradigm, right? We may have already kind of mentioned that, but is that like
no?
Yeah, and it's like it's funny because like there are other newer versions of this card that are probably better at this point. Not at common, but like I feel like anytime you think of white removal, like the first card you think of is
there
Oblivion
another
Ring.
enchantment that does the same thing?
Yes. And it's a weird one, but you'll know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it's called, but it had fading, and you could remove a fading counter to exile something, and then when it ran out of fading counters, everything gets put back into play.
Parallax Wave.
There it is. So that, I think, was the first like white enchantment-based exiling effect that would kind of bring something back, the trade-off of, entering and leaving. And Parallax Wave was also abused similarly by, I think flickering stuff or like getting vanishing counters on it somehow, or I don't remember how, but there was decks with Parallax Wave that could really mess with your opponent's stuff.
Parallax Wave is a whole other... Parallax Wave is like 4 mana, 2 and 2 white, and then remove 4 of the fading counters. It's like a one-sided board wipe. Parallax Wave is ridiculous. That card is very, very good. But no, Oblivion Ring is top notch. That's why I couldn't. Maybe it didn't set an entirely new kind of standard, but I always associate Oblivion Ring with it. Maybe because it's at common and you just see it so much more because of that rarity level. But yeah, Oblivion Ring is so sick. Also, the Lorwyn art amazing, but I am more familiar with the Shards art, and that art is also amazing. So it's got a couple iconic treatments. So
yeah.
But love it.
Nice.
Great pick, Taylor.
Thank you for acknowledging my greatness.
Okay, so then we have my third pick. Everyone ready? Dreamscape Artist.
Whoa.
Hell yeah.
This is another card, much like Nameless Inversion, where you just read it and you're like, what the hell is this card doing? It's 1 generic mana, 1 blue mana. It's a 1/1 creature. It has the effect of 2 generic mana, a blue mana, tap it, discard a card, sacrifice a land to search your library for 2 basic lands, put them into play untapped. In effect, this card just turned any card in your hand into Harrow. That's what it did, because Harrow is 3 mana, sack a land, search for 2 basics, and put them into play. This, you pay 3, discard a card, quote unquote, basically playing a Harrow, sack a land to get 2 lands into play. This card came out in Plane Chase, where they were experimenting with like color swapping abilities to see, kind of like how far they could push the color boundaries. And this card is certifiably completely not blue. It is so bizarre to have this effect as a mono blue card. But it is remarkably powerful. It's a repeatable discard outlet, so of course this goes in my Cedrus EDH deck. It is ramp. You sacrifice 1 land to get 2 lands, but the lands come in untapped, so you're in effect only paying 1 mana. Because you pay 3, sacrifice a tapped land, but then you get 2 untapped lands. So yeah, it's ramp, it's discard, it's got cool art. Jim Murray is just a classic artist. This weird dreamscape artist guy is just sitting here doing... I don't even know what the hell he's doing, but presumably he's dreaming. I don't know. But yeah, this is my second favorite card of all time. It's just so wacky and cool and has an incredibly powerful effect that I try to use as often as I can. Love any excuse to play this card.
That's fucking sweet. I love all the Plane Chase cards that, like you said, push the color boundaries. And yeah, I don't know, even though you're right that this card, it really isn't a blue card, or it shouldn't be a blue card. Yeah. I love it. It feels like the right choice for them to have made this card, And yeah, I don't know what's going on with the art. If he's sitting on like a giant skull or something, yes. I don't know what he's sitting on, but he's just like...
To be clear, are you saying this... Are you talking about the set Planar Chaos?
Yeah.
Or are you talking...
Yeah, no, I said Plane Chase, Planar Chaos. I knew that was wrong when I said it.
I was like, did Plane Chase have cards?
Planar Chaos.
Okay, that makes much more sense now. I was just like thinking, like, did they have cards in the Planar?
Nope, me stupid.
Okay, Kyle got it wrong, and then I followed Kyle's lead, so...
Just stupid as fuck. Dumbest, stupidest.
I didn't know this card existed. This is so crazy, dude. Really? I love how much Plane Chase has ruined Magic because of basically legacy formats. They definitely did not create Planar Chaos with the idea of like, they're going to make EDH one day where color identity matters. Right. So they could, like, this card should have been printed in blue for any reason whatsoever because Cedrus should not have access to this ability.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Does. But I love that effect. I loved that the Mercadian Masks was basically the set that had this mechanic as one of the mechanics of the actual set where you just discard spells and turn them into other ones. And they all sucked ass. But this one is pretty cool. Harrow's was the card I almost put on my list independently just because I like ramp. That's just. But I thought it was kind of boring, so I didn't realize they had a blue creature version. That thing's cool as hell.
Yeah.
And this predates Harrow, right? Or is there an old version of Harrow I don't know about?
Oh, Harrow's older than this. Harrow's from freaking.
I guess so. Zendikar is not the first Harrow. There's a Harrow.
Oh no! It predates. It predates the color. It predates Meriden. I'm positive on that.
Yeah, Harrow had a classic old school border.
Ah,
so it's a very old effect.
So it definitely copies Harrow. All right, yeah. Dreamscape Artisan is really good. So especially in Cedrus, it's like cool how niche of a because I don't know that. This wouldn't go in every. I guess maybe if you were playing like a blue Reanimator EDH deck, you probably want Dreamscape Artist regardless. But it just feels extra nasty in Cedrus because you're discarding the card you want to get back, and all you need is one more land. Super good. It's like a one card, all in one package. Very strong.
Tempest, if you were wondering how old it was, came out in Tempest.
I'm such a loser.
Yeah, so Zendikar was the second time it got reprinted. That's how old of a card it is.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that, guys. Really embarrassed myself there. Oops.
Yeah, no, I mean...
No, this was a good pick, Kyle.
Thanks.
I do love that all your cards are the most convoluted things that have like a bunch of text. It's like, hell yeah, that's Kyle, baby. As someone who loves complicated rules text,
they're just... It's just how interesting they are. I don't know. That's why they're my favorite. They just make me go like, holy shit, wow. You know? Like Unmake, for instance, was on my list for a while, but I took it off because it's just boring, right? It's a simple effect. And so there's a lot of nostalgia value for Unmake, and it's strong, but it's been outclassed over time, and it's not like amazing to me anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
There's not as much to think about, not as much to strategize with and stuff.
But we still were able to talk about just the word unmake because it's so cool. Yeah. So it's certainly a valid pick. I don't know. Yeah, I like cards that are... I don't know. Just give me a different feeling. More amazement.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
So next?
We're at the favorites already?
Not already, Kyle. We've been recording for almost 2 hours.
Still, I figured this was going to be like a 4-hour podcast. All right.
You guys ready for my number one pick?
Ripping through it.
2, yeah.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Do this.
Yep.
All right. My number one pick is from 2021.
I knew it.
2. I knew it. I knew you knew it. Nested Shambler. He is a 1 black mana 1/1 zombie. When he dies, create X tapped 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens where X is his power.
Oh.
So there's so many things I love about this card. Ultimately, I feel like he's just like the ultimate pawn for a black deck. He loves to be sacrificed. He fits well in a fairly aggressive deck too, if you want him to. And on top of that, he is this shambling beast with a nest of squirrels on his back who get proportionally larger with his power. So when you mix in cards like Supernatural Stamina, where it pumps a creature, and when they die, the creature comes back to the battlefield, all of a sudden you can attack with this guy, pump him, sacrifice him, get, 3-4 squirrel tokens, and you get him back. He is a super unsuspecting little menace that I have a lot of fun playing because nobody wants to waste a kill spell on him, but you can make them do that, and then when they do, you just get a bunch of squirrel tokens out of it.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. I love it. He's so cool. I don't know. I just think he's really like the ultimate sack fodder for a black deck.
Yeah, all right, I'll just jump in. I love Nested Shambler so much. He for sure is in my black-white Teysa EDH deck because any kind of power buffing on him is crazy. Supernatural Stamina, specifically on Nested Shambler, can do the most disgusting, degenerate shit with him. It is so good. Supernatural Stamina is 1 black mana. target creature gets +2/+0, and when the creature dies this turn, return it to play. So you can do insane shit like you just attack with this into their big dudes, and they have to go like, well, do I call his bluff and block it with something? If they do, you supernatural stamina, because it only buffs power. Nested Shambler will still always die, which means you get 3 squirrels. Shambler dies. He then comes back to the battlefield, and you get to do the same kind of shit next turn. You can also do annoying stuff, like you attack with Nested Shambler. They go, all right, I'll just take 1. No, you're going to take 3 from Supernatural Stamina, and then I'm going to use,
the conviction.
Sure, Corrupted Conviction post-combat to sacrifice him to get 3 tokens to draw cards, and Nested Shambler is still in play, and now I've, multiplied my forces by 3 because I have these 3 1/1s, so you kind of, you effectively turn Supernatural Stamina's power buff permanent because it turns the power into actual creatures. Then you've quadrupled your sack fodder, so now suddenly the, Carrion Feeder can just be sacked into a 5/5, it's so good. Nested Shambler is so crazy strong. I fucking love him so much. And his art is really great. It's dark, but it's really cool. It reminds me, of course, of Last of Us. It's very evocative of a clicker or something. It's kind of I'm surprised he doesn't have Plant Zombie, actually.
Yeah.
He kind of looks plantish.
I don't know, he almost reminds me of a pirate or something, though, because he's got a sword on his hip and he's got all this gold jewelry and stuff.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But, yeah, I don't know. Regardless, there's squirrels living on him. But
yeah.
But yes, Plant Zombie would definitely fit too. I could see that.
Nested Shambler, man. Oh, love him.
I feel like I've never really even seen this card before, and it looks insanely strong. They make these effects a lot, I feel like, when black, where a 1 mana 1/1 in black dies and makes a guy, and this guy being able to just go scale like crazy seems absolutely bonkers. I'm surprised. I guess it makes sense they would give him a power at base, but it just you almost wonder if this card could be an 0/1 and still be good. This card's insane. I think I've completely overlooked this card before, never paid attention, and I am loving it. It's really strong.
Yeah. Taylor's got no thoughts. Brain is blank.
No, you don't want my thoughts.
Okay. Why not?
I do want your thoughts.
I'm just, as I've gotten older, the more that a card is just objectively powerful, I find the same feeling you get about it just does the opposite of make me feel things. This is just objectively a really powerful card. Okay. I don't know, it's just not interesting. I know that sounds backwards and it sounds hipstery, but it's just that I don't I guess, the Modern Horizons 3. Maybe it's more of a prejudice against just this set that is so powerful. I view a lot of these cards in the way kind of zoomed out in the grand scope of the game of Magic the Gathering, and not necessarily in a 60 card deck how powerful is each individual piece. So that's kind of the way I've been looking at these cards. And to me, seeing the that pick of it's just so powerful is yeah, man, that is a lot to put on a fucking 1/1 for 1 mana. The hell? This is nuts. So everything you guys said is true. So I don't have anything new or interesting other than a critique of just on the other side, it's so powerful that I almost that this doesn't feel common. This feels objectively a super powerful card in a way that's what is it about it that is simple and common? It feels uncommon, at least, I don't know. It feels kind of cheating uncommon, a little bit. But that's just
I think uncommon would be more fair, honestly. But
that's
I don't
the thing.
Being a hipster.
That's the thing with the Modern Horizon sets specifically, is they didn't just scale up power for Modern specifically. They massively warped the Pauper format because the cards are so absurdly strong. Yeah, I mean, you can +1 the rarity of every single thing that they print in Modern Horizons, and it still wouldn't be enough. This should be uncommon. Any rare should be mythic. Mythic should be a new fucking super type of rare. Nested Shamblers. But you know what I'm going to do, Taylor? I'm going to piss you off and say, there is a downside. If you give him -/, he gives no tokens. If if they defile
true.
this motherfucker to a -5, -5.
No, that's
they take
fair.
away tokens from your fucking token pile.
Yeah, you get negative
All
tokens.
I'm
You have to.
saying
no,
is
you
why
have to
I
sacrifice
didn't have
tokens.
anything to add is just like this type of design to me. I don't have a lot of fun. I just like it just rubs me the wrong way. So I feel like I'm not giving it a fair shot.
You're completely right. Is that any effect like this was, like Doomed Traveler, or Doomed Traveler is actually like the premier card that does that. It's a 1-mana 1/1. When it dies, you create a 1/1 with flying, right? Like very simple effect, really cool, really good. Now they have an effect like this where suddenly it scales. Why? Like this is gonna give you a 1/1 no matter what, but then also not no matter what, like I just illustrated, but whatever. It's very niche that'll happen. Yeah, I mean, it is a thing where you look at this and you're like, okay, if they just took the effect and made it better. But really, that's what Magic has been doing for decades. They take old effects that like aren't standing up anymore and upscaling them. It's why, Afterlife, for instance, kind of made cards like Doomed Traveler, or what's that other one? The 1/1 that dies and makes a 1/1 lifelink?
Doomed Witness?
Oh,
Hunted Witness?
Something.
No,
yeah, that might be. It might be
Hunted
Doomed
Witness. Hunted Witness.
That's
Yeah,
something like that.
Doomed Traveler and Hunted Witness are both like the premier 1/1s that die to make 1/1s, and they just went, what if we just made this 10 times better? And then they made Nested Shambler. So yeah, I feel you, but
And I continue, sorry.
It is a fun card. It is really strong, and I think me and Daniel specifically like it so much because Daniel made a mono black sack deck, and we have played it together on MTGO, and it is so fun to blow people out of the water with an a supernatural stamina on the Nested Shambler, and you watch again on MTGO. They read Shambler and they read your spell, and they're like, you can see them processing their demise. They're like, oh my fucking god, you get a fucking million of everything. Now, I want to say, Nameless Inversion on this card would actually be insanely cool.
Yep. It's just a 2-mana create four squirrel tokens, basically.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
But yeah, and I will say, this card, I've never played with it in any formats other than Pauper, but playing with it in a mono black Pauper deck, it's not broken, I would say, because like I run a deck that really caters to this card. I play it alongside Mortician Beetle, which anytime you sacrifice a creature, Mortician Beetle gets a +1/+1 counter. And like Nested Shambler, cast Supernatural Stamina on it. Most of the time I'm attacking for 3 and it's getting blocked and I'm getting 3 1/1s, which is good value. The most broken it's ever been is I've been able to attack Supernatural Stamina it twice, hit for 5, and then sacrifice it to like a Village Rites, and all of a sudden I have 5 tokens, I have him back, and I just drew 2 cards, for 3 mana. Which is great, but like there's more broken cards than that, like that, 5 damage. I had to pay 3 mana to do 5 damage, get some tokens, and draw 2 cards, which is it's really nice, but it takes a lot of moving pieces,
Yeah, he certainly needs work, but that's the thing, is like at his baseline, he's still just as good as a Hunted Witness or a
absolutely.
So
yeah,
he only scales up for the most part, and that's why he could
sure.
That's why he could be viewed as sort of busted.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Anyway, that's my number 1 favorite card. I love this guy so much.
Sweet. Well, Carver, what you got? Who's your number 1 favorite comp? Wait, no, it's not your number 1 favorite. It's just in no particular
order. It's probably predictable given our previous ones. But Mold Drifter.
Nice. I was wondering who was going to have this
Mold
on their
Drifter
list.
is perfect, man. We talked about it before. It's a creature elemental 2/2 flyer for 4 and 1 blue. It has a text: when Mold Drifter comes into play, draw 2 cards, and then you can evoke it for 2 and a blue. This card, it just impresses me that this is like common level. It just seems like it's a lot. I guess if you only evoke it like in a limited format, okay, cool, it's a divination. But obviously in like EDH decks that it gets played in, or cubes or whatever, this card is never just that. It's always, you're always abusing the draw trigger and the interaction between the draw trigger and the evoke trigger. to either retain this card and draw 4 with like an ephemerate. Like, so for 2 and a blue, you evoke this, and then for 1 white, ephemerate it as it comes into play, cast ephemerate on it, and draw 4 cards, and then do it again the next turn, and it doesn't get sacrificed. Muldrifter is just really good. Love this card. Ephemerate actually almost made my list too. That would have been a pretty...
It may or may not be an honorable mention of mine.
Oh,
Probably of yours too.
I actually... True story, Kyle. I literally thought you would pick it, so I avoided it. Like I was
busted.
Yeah, I was like very. Anyway, so Muldrifter is super good. I don't have a ton to say about it other than I love the ability evoke. I like having that mode of being able to bring it in for cheap and get a good effect. And this is you guys could probably speak to it too. It's got to be the best one. One of the better evoke cards, probably the best evoke card. And all at common, so just a very good card. Even at 5 mana, paying 5 mana to bring a 2/2 into play that draws 2 cards. I don't think at common they've done that again. So even at 5 mana, it's still really good. So yeah, I love Muldrifter, very strong card, and then when you can abuse it, it feels extra good. So that's my let's call it my top common. So Muldrifter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Muldrifter, the first thing I was gonna say is now that I forget. So I'll say the second thing I was gonna say. And that's if Shriekmaw was either common or destroyed any creature, it would certainly be the best. But Shriekmaw is a close second, but yeah, Muldrifter is just a wildly effective card, and yeah, it's almost always played as an evoke, but yeah, in its worst case, so that's the thing with Shriekmaw, is that sometimes you just can't really play it. You know, because you got to kill a non-black creature, and you know, if there's no non-blacks to kill, then you're paying 5 mana for a 3 power fear, and it's just not that good. But like this, 100% always playable. It's just so good. You never ever have to hold it up. You never care if you're spending your turn 3 like playing this to draw cards to put a creature in your graveyard that maybe you can abuse later. Yeah, Muldrifter is just insane. And yeah, you put flicker effects and abuse the evoke trigger, the ETB. It's so good. Love him.
I didn't put it on my list because I knew someone would have it on here.
Yes.
Otherwise, it'd be like probably my number 3 or number 2. Not for any reason. Not from a power level reason. Like you basically it's a grizzly bear plus divination that you can pay in different like increments, right? But
divination bear.
Yeah, exactly. Or a grivelination, as I like to call it.
You're always saying that.
I am known to always be saying that. I also, as dumb as this sounds, like evoke was very, as a new player, like I didn't understand why you would ever evoke this. You just destroy the creature. Why would you do that? And like that was just.
Dude, you're right. I do remember being confused by evoke because I didn't put together that like it enters play. I'm like, why would you cast this to put it into your graveyard for 3? What?
Yeah, we were just dumb kids at the time, but I just, I think that was so partially is like just kind of remembering evoke being a point of being like, I don't understand, this mechanic seems objectively bad. But, so I've grown since then, and seeing that as like, oh, this is a spell that has an optional creature upside if you want to. And like, I don't know. So it's kind of fun to look at. So it just brings positive memories is one of the reasons I love the old Drift-O-Matic 5000.
You know what? I'm just now putting this together too. Why he feels so good is because cycling is normally 2 mana, discard it, draw a card. This is kind of just like super cycling. You pay 3, but you're drawing 2. You're effectively just kind of discarding it, but you can draw 2, and then you can also abuse it with other kind of mechanics. It's like a Crows and Tusker.
That's a good way of putting it.
It feels very similar to a Crows and Tusker.
Yeah, for sure.
But
didn't you guys joke about super cycling like on one of your other podcast episodes?
we might have mentioned it.
I feel like you were talking about some super mechanic.
Yeah, well, Megamorph, of course, and then
we were talking about Super Dredge, not Dredge.
Super scavenge.
Delirium.
Oh, yeah.
Super Delirium.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mentioned that
Okay.
quite a bit. I love a Super Delirium.
Yeah, Super Cycle. Add that to the list.
I'm going to quickly shout
All right.
out my other
Super-
Pauper
hey, it's a super
EDH deck
cycle.
that this card was an all-star in is Ruthless Deathfang. So that was another
Yeah.
What the fuck is Ruthless Death
That's a
Fang?
Dimir Dragon. It's 4 and then a blue and a black for a 4/4 flying dragon.
Oh my!
And it says
God,
whenever
that guy.
you sack a creature,
Oh my God.
whenever you sack a creature, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So evoking a
Bro,
Mole Drifter, drawing 2 cards,
unreal.
making all your opponents sacrifice a creature was very disgusting. So yeah, that was
I actually blocked that deck from my memory because I fucking hate it so much. I just realized
'Cause it would
I was like, Ruthless Death Fang. I've never heard of this card. I remember playing that deck and fucking hating it.
yeah.
Because there's so much exploit in common too, and that's like the set that the block it came out in, Dragons of Tarkir, where there was exploit. So yeah, at common, you're evoking shit and exploiting shit, and you just get all the benefit, and I have an empty board at all times. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it seems really balanced.
I hate that deck.
Yeah, Mole Drifter's so cool.
Another 6 mana general where you're like, oh, he'll never get 6 mana.
But he does.
But he
do.
Yeah, Mole Drifter's sweet. Possibly one of the coolest
All right,
blue cards of all time.
Yeah, maybe. It's got a very cool, unique, weird effect for blue as well.
Yeah.
And they've made like weird half versions of Mole Drifter over the years too. There was some modern card that came out recently that's very similar to this.
When they did
Null Drifter,
Drifter,
I think
right? The vehicle
yeah,
one.
Null. No, it's an Eldrazi.
Mm-hmm.
Modern
It has-
Horizons 3.
Yeah, it's a 7 mana 4/4 flyer. When you cast the spell, draw 2 cards, and it's got evoke.
Oh, okay.
So it's just kind of an upscaled version.
All right. So
Taylor.
to pour as a nice little opposite to me and Kyle in terms of why we like certain cards. Number 1, Terminate.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Simple, black, red, destroy target creature. It cannot be regenerated.
Yep.
I think it's such a powerful evoking name. It does the exact thing you think it's going to do. There's something I love about like Split Second, not because I think Split Second fucking sucks, but it's such a clear like, no, this is what's happening. There's nothing you can do about it. Just accept your fate. That's what this is more or less is kind of like that. Like, no, there isn't any spell you can cast here. He's dead. Just it's over. Just let it go.
Yeah,
and
but I want to regenerate it.
In fact, it was so powerful.
It cannot be regenerated. In fact,
this was cast at Wizards of the Coast, and it just destroyed the regenerate mechanic. I mean,
bro, I put your creature in a volcano. You think you can regenerate?
Yeah, you're stupid
Get
for
out of
even
here,
asking
you
me,
idiot, moron.
So I also that's all. There isn't. I don't think it's particular. Like it probably is a powerful kill spell in like a pauper like format. Just by the nature of the. But I guess destroying the writer of it can't regenerate probably doesn't matter. I just love the simplicity. That's why I like this card so much, is because it doesn't do anything except what it says it does, and it's very clean and like.
So
this is a card you can go textless and just be like, I know what this card does. Like if you can make your card textless and it still have text
there
on
is
it,
one.
like
there's a textless version by Dave Kendall. I think he did the art.
I'm
for
looking
it.
at it right now.
Well, to be fair, they also
have Thomas M. Baxa. That's who did it.
That is awesome, but to be fair, they also have a Texas cryptic command. So just because
True.
it's out there doesn't mean they should have done it. Cryptic or Terminate.
When are they going to do a textless questing beast?
That one's actually a the way you can the sobriety test is if you hold that card up and be like, can you tell me everything this creature does? So, but anyway, that's all I got.
Nice. I love Terminate. It certainly was toyed with for being on my favorites list. I can say confidently it set the standard for how strong a kill spell can be.
Yeah.
2 mana, Impartial Destruction is still the premier cost of a card. Like the newest cards they print at 2 mana, destroy any creature. Those are still like extremely strong. They don't really print stuff cheaper than that. What's that one card? It's the newer one where you destroy a target creature for 2 mana, but you lose 2 life.
Infernal Grasp, and I believe it's Infernal Grasp is the one.
Mhm.
Yeah. There was the other one during Ikoria where it was like destroy a creature with no counters on it, which is more or less kind of a conditionless destroy. But
and like now they have one, but it's a sorcery instead of an instant.
Right. And of course there's the like Swords to Plowshare and Path to Exile, like we mentioned, but those are pretty different and unique. But yeah, 2 mana, just destroy a thing is so strong. I love Terminate. The only reason it doesn't actually get play in Pauper is because it is red and black. And that cost is steep, and there just aren't really a lot of good Rakdos decks, and if they are Rakdos, they're usually playing like treasure shenanigans and discard stuff, and
I have to imagine in Pauper, 2 color decks are way harder to pull off. You can't splash for anything. You don't have the mana base to flex spots like that.
You could back when the Prism artifact was legal, where you could filter a mana, tap it and a mana and get a mana of any color, but then they banned it.
Arkham's Astrolabe?
No. Well, that too, yes, but
Batman Arkham Asylum.
The one, it's 2 mana, enters play, draw a card, Prophetic Prism.
They banned that card?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Am I crazy?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know anything.
Let me Google this.
No, me Googled first.
Okay.
Well, that didn't work. You could have beat me if you actually committed.
Terminate's so
told me
freaking
not
badass.
to, loser.
No, yeah,
Oh.
Prophetic Prism is banned in Pauper.
Wow.
So anyways, yeah, I love Terminate. It set a standard for how strong a kill spell can be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you couldn't ask for a better kill spell. Like,
Yeah.
other than the mana
Especially
cost being
at common?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, seriously.
It's the same set that had Vindicate, which is also on was not a common, but the same level of like destroy target permanent.
Yeah,
that's it. It's just like
such a good sentence. Ho ho ho.
I can't tell you too how many times I've looked at Terminate and Dreadbore and like for like an EDH deck and been like, why the fuck is Dreadbore sorcery? I'm like, what is going on?
It's so crazy.
It's like it's a rare, but it's a sorcery, and it's funny how those 2 cards are like connected in my brain for some reason because they've always been very similar in like how I organize my cards, and so I've always been flipping through them and seeing Terminate, Dreadbore. Yeah, Terminate's just way better, so we're gonna put Terminate in my deck. It's
always.
It's so interesting how it just outclasses certain cards today. I know you guys were talking about it.
And it's much more relevant in EDH because there's way more regenerate stuff. Not a ton, but there is more. For instance, like the general of my deck, whose name I forgot yet again, the troll.
Lotleth Troll.
Lotleth. I keep wanting to call him Cudgel Troll, for fuck's sake. Yeah, Lotleth Troll regenerates. Terminate is just like, oh, you have 7 counters on him? Fuck you. No. All right. Yeah. Terminate's great. Good pick.
And now,
oh, is it me?
Now to the big
Okay.
K, the K-hole himself.
K-hole. My number 1 favorite card, Exhume.
What? This is a common?
I had a feeling
Yes.
this might be on the list.
What the fuck?
Dude, Exhume. 1 colorless, 1 black sorcery. Each player chooses a creature card in their graveyard and puts it into play. The power level of this card is off the fucking charts. Obviously, in a vacuum, it's terrible. But in a reanimate deck, this card at common is beyond the pale of powerful. It is fucking crazy how good this card is. In a reanimate deck, your creatures will always be better than your opponents. It always will. And you're looting so much quicker than them that 90% of the time you're playing Exhume and you're getting a creature and your opponents get nothing because nothing's died or they're not milling. And you are specifically turn 1 Faithless Looting, turn 2 Careful Study, turn 3 whatever else, and then you can just like Exhume. I have had turn 1 Faithless Looting into turn 2 Exhume many times. It is crazy, crazy strong. The art is awesome too. Carl Critchlow is a really, really good artist. He's done art for years. Like these giant Matrix style kind of cranes pulling this decrepit corpse out of the ground, but like it's reanimating this huge badass creature. Like this card just blows my mind every time that I think about it being common. And in fact, I have a red-black Reanimator deck that plays a Pauper constructed deck that plays Ulamog's Crusher, and you exhume Crusher out after Faithless Looting. Like, except I think Faithless Looting is banned, but still, you get
yeah. I was gonna say, you can effectively get a turn 2 Ulamog's Crusher.
Yes. It's crazy. Crazy card. Super strong. Been playing it for a decade or more. I love this card so goddamn much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even have a lot to say. It's just a really fucking good card.
I mean, they can't. They're literally... I know Carver's jaw is dropped. He can't speak. He's in shock.
I'm currently being exhumed by this card.
Taylor has died, and he's silent because he's trying to get exhumed. Yeah.
That was one of the few cards that's just like, I know that's on Kyle's list. Anything that's a Reanimator adjacent thing, and like this is the most like floor like 0 to 60 card on the planet. It feels kind of like a coin flip card. Like you have the answer to this or you lose. Like it does kind of have that level of power, which is gonna be pretty fun. But by making it symmetrical, there can be a situation where like
for sure.
Actually. The thing you did to set yourself up, a lot of people assume that you would get the better half of it, but that may not always be the case. So that's what can make some fun moments, too, of like getting blown out by it. So there's some fun stuff, too.
Sadly admit that Exhume, for the first time in about 10 years, got cut from Cedrus because there have been just enough times where Exhume has been like, I've drawn it later in the game, and I'm like, fuck, I worked hard to kill those things over there, and now if I exhume, they just get them back, and so I have to sit here with an exhume in my hand that does nothing. So,
well, that's how you know God has forsaken us here.
Yes. So
when that moment has happened, there's just no hope left.
That is something else, I didn't mention when I was describing why I love this card so much. It is symmetrical, so there can be a downside. Most of the time there isn't, of course, like I'm describing. Even if they do bring back a creature, usually it's something way worse than like my Noxious Gear Hulk or my Inferno Titan or my endless amount of creatures that are just utter bombs that Exhume brings back.
Yeah,
there is a downside.
I was gonna say that
there is a downside.
I'm sad to see it cut out of Cedrus because I've seen it in the deck for so long, but it's definitely been the case where you've cast this card against me, and I'm like, oh, so I get back my Sun Titan that you're just going to kill again. Like, you know what I mean? So it's the downside in Cedrus, and maybe it's Cedrus specifically in a 1v1 where it almost feels like it's not even a downside. Maybe in like a potted game with 4 players, Exhume would feel more risky. But certainly, Exhume is, it's a bummer it's not in that deck anymore because it's just so strong. And I've just had so many memories of you casting it. And that exact feeling of, oh, I guess I get my awesome thing back and then it dies again. And it's like, so what the F is the point, you know? Also, I want to shout out that Exhume has, I just never really paid attention to this, but its flavor text is pretty freaking cool.
Death, an outmoded concept. We sleep and we change.
Just calling death like, it doesn't matter anymore. We're past death. It's just cool. Very iconic.
I said outmoded. I meant to say outmoded. Sorry, that's embarrassing.
That's all right.
An outmoded concept. Anyways, that's back when flavor text was actually cool. Now it's like, Exhume, bringing corpses back to life. Okay. Yeah.
The only thing more sure of death and taxes is that you come back from the dead or some stupid.
There's nothing more sure anymore or something. Let's stop embarrassing ourselves and move on here.
Wow, you guys really roasted Wizards on that one.
Yeah, we got them good. They're blushing. They are blushing right now hearing what we're saying. Yeah. No, when they print cards like Persist, it's just hard to play something like Exhume. Animate Dead, Persist, even newer cards that are like 5 mana, but you get like clones of your creatures if you if you do a thing that I will not speak of here. Okay. I know that's really weird. None of you know what I'm talking about. It's the gift mechanic. It's like there's a new card. It's a 5 mana, and you can gift your opponent a card, and if you do, you create a 1/1 token of the thing that you reanimate.
Gotcha.
But just gifting a card, I hate that.
Yeah, I
still
barely understand that.
Yeah. It's 5 mana, you reanimate something, you let your opponent draw a card, and you create a 1/1 token copy of the thing you just reanimated. So yeah, like 2 Noxious Gear Hulks. One of them's a 1/1, but I get the 2 ETBs, and then you pair it with Panharmonicon, and suddenly I'm killing 4 creatures. Like, it's crazy, crazy, crazy good. Coil of Death, Death Coil, something. It's got the word coil.
What's the card?
Coiling Rebirth. That's what
they have
is.
6 mana ones where it's like reanimate 2 things, right? I guess it's 2 different cards, so you need 2 different good targets. After
I'd rather have the one.
Never after something. Anyway. Very cool card. Exhumed, super powerful. Very cool.
Yep. Classic for me. This is one of the first cards I remember seeing too. Like back when Ryan, our oldest brother, started playing Magic. I remember looking through his stuff and this card catching my eye and just being like, what the hell is this? It's so cool. It's a good word too. Exhume. Love that. Yeah. Just a cool one.
Great card.
All right. Well, now I suppose we go on to honorable mentions, if you guys have them.
Yeah, I have 3, and it'll be quick for me to go through mine.
I have one, actually.
Okay.
I'll just get mine out of the way. Bone Splitter.
Nice.
Nice.
To me, is like the equipment that, like, it's not particularly exciting or anything, but it probably is the most just metal sounding name for an axe of all time. And I just love it's just 1 mana to play, 1 to equip. So it's basically always equipped onto something, and having 2 more power. Like, I don't know, the math of that is just, you just trade up so often, and it scales up nicely with things like crewing, which I know is the most important mechanic that's ever been printed. So, to me, it was just a cool card, and I wanted to shout it out. I don't think it's that interesting. I just love the name, and I think it's a fun equipment.
Nice.
I will echo, well, I guess we shouldn't be having full-on discussions about these honorable mentions, but because yours is only 1. Bone Splitter is another card where it set the standard for what a 1 mana equipment can be. 1 to play, 1 to equip. Bone Splitter goes in every single equipment pauper deck that I make because it is so fucking strong. They don't make cards that cheap and that scale up your creature that hard. They just don't do it. And Bone Splitter, yeah, it's another one where it's like, is this better than Bone Splitter? Usually no. It's just so good.
It's better than a lot of, it's so cheap that it's better than a lot of up in rarity equipments too, you know? So it's like at common, it's just like, it's so cool. Like you're saying, it set the standard for equipment at common, you know, it's pretty interesting. Love that card.
All right, Taylor has 1. Daniel, what are your mentions?
Yeah, I got mine on my screen if you guys want to look at them.
Okay.
First one is Bioshift. Hybrid green-blue mana. It's an instant.
Nice.
Move any number of +1/+1 counters from target creature onto another target creature with the same controller. I think this is just a really cool Simic card. Like, this is like the most Simic card. It's not amazing, but I think it's really cool. Second honor.
There's a black-blue card that does something similar, but anyways, yeah, Bioshift is so cool.
I'm not familiar with the black-blue one, but yeah, I think it's cool. The art is cool. He's got 1 crab claw and like 1 like tentacle hand.
Yeah, like octopus hand.
Number 2 honorable mention is Sundering Vitae. 3 mana instant with Convoke, destroy target artifact or enchantment. I love this card. I think using Convoke with a destroy target artifact or enchantment spell is really cool, like flavor wise, that, you know, your creatures are sort of helping to, you know, maybe like, you know, storm in and destroy this artifact or whatever. The art is really cool. This guy's snapping an axe in half, and it's sort of like exploding.
The Vitae is snapping the axe in half.
Oh, I see.
You see that? The green slimy vines are
now
pulling his
I
axe apart.
understand. He's just holding it. Okay, well, I completely missed.
No,
I just
stop sundering. You Vitae, stop sundering.
Yeah, okay, I misconstrued. That's my fault.
Oh, I see this card. Yes,
Seedling Charm.
Yes.
1 mana, green instant. Choose 1. Return target creature enchantment to its owner's hand, or regenerate target green creature, or target creature gains trample until end of turn. I love all the charm spells. I think they're really cool. Most of them aren't very good. I think this one is the best, and I it's just like a really functional green 1 mana instant. Like any of these spells as a 1 mana spell, you'd be happy to have. Putting them all three on one card is just like it's like a little green Swiss Army knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
Nice.
Yeah, I like those picks. Classics.
Kyle's, me or you?
It's you.
It's me. So my three, one of them, Agony Warp. This card is one of those cards where it's more simple than you think, but it's also like just like you feel smarter playing it than you probably actually are, because it's just doing 2 really good line of text. but for like just a blue and a black mana instant, target creature gets -3/-0 till end of turn, and target creature gets -0/-3. It's so often a Dimir Fog, which is really cool, or a Dimir Fog plus killing something, which is really cool. So I like Agony Warp a lot. Also, the art is pretty sick. Like these 2 creatures like trading, like one's getting super strong, but the other one's like getting super weak looking, and it's just kind of interesting. So love the art of the card as well. Also from that block, Quasali Pride Mage. I remember when I first started playing Magic, and Kyle, I think it was your Exalted, or is it Taylor's Exalted deck? One of you two had just a Bant Exalted deck, and I remember looking at Quasali Pride Mage and feeling like at a common, like this card just feels like it's a lot. Like it's a green-white for a 2/2 with Exalted, and then for 1, you can sacrifice Quasali Pride Mage and destroy target artifact or enchantment. So it just feels like there's a lot going on with this card. It's like on defense, it's, you leave it back to block, and then you attack with something, make it bigger. If they attack, you can like block, sack, destroy something. There's a lot going on with this card. And I just really like it. So this one, not maybe particularly powerful, but just I have like nostalgia for it and thinking about it. Especially
I will say, before you move on real quick, the 1 mana sack it to destroy an artifact or enchantment, I don't think they had ever put a destroy artifact enchantment sack effect on a creature like that was that strong, like, until this point. Quasali Pride Mage was stand out powerful. He's such an awesome card. He does so much. Attacking as a 3/3 for 2 is crazy if you want him to. And if you don't, because of the way, how good Exalted is, he just funnels his power into somebody else, and then he's got the utility backup of dealing with like an Oblivion Ring at the time, or, yeah, he was so cool.
It's also one of these cards, it's like you're almost pre-sideboarded, right? Like if you have 4 of these in your deck to further your Exalted plan, you also have 4 disenchants in your deck to, it's like this card is just super flexible, super good. Love this card. So
nice.
And then my last one, which is probably going to maybe be Groansome, but just I have a lot of memories of Cranial Plating playing. This is just one of those cards. The only reason why I would include it is because, like, as much as all the other cards are kind of like, how is this ever a common? This card specifically to me is like, how is this ever a common? It's like, so unbelievably
out of control.
It's so out of control, especially if you consider you can do 2 of them. Like they kind of synergize with each other if you have 2 of them. So, but I have a lot of fond memories of pulverizing people playing Modern Affinity with Cranial Plating in the deck. So yeah, those are just some 3 honorable mentions at common. So.
Dude, Cranial Plating, the art on it too. I love Adam Rex. He's so cool. He reminds me a lot of Beksinski, for all of you art heads out there. Cranial Plating has such good art, and Equip 1 is my all-time favorite equip cost. Who doesn't love to see that? Like, okay, I will stand corrected. This card gives Bone Splitter a run for its money, certainly. Because even in an equipment deck where you're not specifically scaling artifacts, like, Cranial Plating will outscale Bone Splitter almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, with a Bone Splitter in play, Cranial Plating is already rivaling its power, and then you add any other additional artifacts into play, and Cranial Plating is off the charts. Wow, yeah. Cranial Plating. I forgot that card was a common. That's kind of like Exhume, where it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. So those are my 3 honorable mentions.
Nice. Sweet. All right, well, my screen here, if y'all are looking.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1 honorable mention is Blightning.
Nice.
1 generic mana, 1 black, 1 red, sorcery. Deals 3 damage to target player. Target player discards 2 cards. The art on this is just... It reminds me of Akira, actually, Taylor. We were talking animated films recently. The art on that is kind of like the end. But
You're
yeah,
right,
Lightning...
I didn't think of that.
Dude, it's like... It just does the stuff. It's so... I don't know. I love it. I don't know much to say about it. It was actually standard playable at the time. It's crazy tempo. It is technically card advantage. Helps you burn out your opponent and close the game, and also picks apart their hand, gets rid of their stuff. Like, it's just such a cool card. Really, really strong. Love the name, love the art, love the cost. It's all great. Next card is indeed Ephemerate.
Nice.
This card... I keep saying the phrase set the standard, but this card also set the standard for how powerful flicker effects could be. Ephemerate is disgustingly strong. Just 1 white mana to flicker a creature and then do it again for free the next turn. I mean, it's just crazy. This card alone inspired me to make a constructed pauper flickering deck. It was green-white originally, using like Elvish Mystics and stuff to flicker and draw cards. And oh, you think you're killing something? Flicker it, and I get a new ETB trigger. Oh, you're attacking with a big dude? Block, flicker, get advantage. You do no damage. Like, yeah, Ephemerate's just so good. I just don't really like the art. It's like a picture of a lion almost that has blocks of color missing where... Like, it's fitting for the card, but I don't know. Something about the art bothers me.
I just think you don't get it, Kyle.
It feels like the art should maybe be more blurred, and it's like they just took like the erase and paint and just like...
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
I
like,
don't know.
also, why is it just... It's a lion sitting there with no expression. It's literally just a lion standing there. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
They could have made it a lot cooler.
Yeah, that actually is part of the reason why it didn't make my actual favorites list, because it's just...
Dude, yeah, because imagine if he had like a gun or something.
Yeah, like, why isn't it a dude with a pistol?
If he had a gun, it'd be so much cooler.
All right, next for me is Edge of Divinity.
Nice.
This card, much like Bone Splitter, you pay 1 mana to enchant a black-white creature and give it +3/+3. It's crazy. So Edge of Divinity is a hybrid white-black mana, so it's 1 mana, and you can pay either a white or a black for it. It's an aura. If the enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+2. If the enchanted creature is black, it gets +2/+1. So it's literally Holy Might and Unholy Might, which are old auras, combined into 1 card. This card is insanely powerful. They still don't print auras that give this much power toughness for this little mana. And at the time, there was a card called Nip Gwillion, which was a 1 mana 1/1 lifelink that was black and white. So one of my all-time favorite turns was turn 1, Nip Gwillion. Turn 2, 2 Edge of Divinities attack you with a 7/7 lifelink on turn 2. It was basically unbeatable. So Edge of Divinity, crazy powerful card with great art. It's just a little boring, which is why it didn't make my list. And then finally, Ulamog's Crusher.
Yep.
One of my all-time favorite commons. It's another one of those where you're like, how is this a common? It feels like it's way too strong. Just seeing this mana cost, that power toughness, that ability with the common symbol to me, it's like, what are they doing? 8 mana, 8/8, Annihilator 2, it attacks each turn if able.
Yeah, possibly the most intimidating common of all time.
Yes. Like, genuinely, it really is. Speaking of which, I'm going to exhume an Ulamog's Crusher on turn 2 and Pauper.
Real
what are
quick,
you going to do about it?
Do you want to know why they have the text, this has to attack each turn if able?
Why?
So when the original test run, because I listen to a lot of the Mark Rosewater podcast, one reason, so it's not me being clever, it's just me remembering a thing I heard, is that it didn't have that text before, but people were too afraid to attack with it, and they used it as a defender, but they wanted you attacking, because as Annihilator, they want you doing it, so they added that text on common to get the playtesters to, like, swing with it. Like, how do we get people to know they should be attacking? They shouldn't use this as a wall. They should be using this to close the game out.
What?
Wait, how the fuck does Annihilator 2 not get people to attack? It's a fucking attack trigger.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, I didn't.
Dude, do they get like 2-year-olds who don't know how to play the game to play test? What the fuck?
Now I didn't play during this format limited, but was for some reason I feel like I know people who have talked about World Wake being like a very slow format. Maybe if there's a lot of tokens floating around, you just don't think it's worth attacking with an 8/8. That also makes them sacrifice to. I don't know. I can't put it together either.
Okay, no, that's very fair. Yes, this format, you produced a ton of tokens, especially with things like Colony Heart Garden, which is a land that comes into play and creates a 0/1 plant. So, like, I'm playing lands while that can block your Ulamog's Crusher. But at the same time, like, it's annihilating too, so they gotta dwindle down their resources. But then I guess by the time you're playing this and then attacking with it the next turn, I mean, it's probably turn 6, 7, 8 with ramp, assuming you're using ramp. All right, maybe I take it back. That's a good point. Maybe there's a world where,
there's a lot of things that you take for granted once you have the knowledge. But thinking back, there's little things like that, and like you think about it too. Like, it does feel like a card that makes it so that it's buying you infinite time. Like, on the board, I can buy time, but they don't want you to use the creature that way. And, it's supposed to be a signpost for the Eldrazi and junk and stuff. But, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. And
another card with bomb-ass flavor text. Whatever the Eldrazi's purpose is, it has nothing to do with something so insignificant as us. Like, they don't even understand. Just like Magic players, we didn't even understand the power of these cards. We're like, why? How do these exist? And even in universe, it's like these eldritch horror monsters that are the size of skyscrapers, and they eradicate things just by looking at them. It's like, yup, we don't know what the fuck they want. They're just ruining the world. So cool.
Yeah, and universe that's pretty interesting is like they kind of abandoned them as villains for now, but like that is something that comes up a lot even in lore, is this esoteric nature of like it's not even clear what direction they're going and if they want to destroy the planet or not, or do they like suck it up like a vampire, or is it the physical, like do they bite the planet? Like it's super unclear even to the universe. Like, how like they were unclear what Emrakul's plan was to, like, even when she got to Innistrad and like was mind controlling people and like influencing it, and when it was over Shadows over Innistrad, like her plan is never clear. Like what was the end game? Why wouldn't she just eat it? And like that's just the interesting weird nonsense of them. It's being reflected in the lore too, is that it's not they're not villains because we aren't pieces they're interacting with. Like the way that you don't feel anything about an ant, good or bad. They're insignificant. Like they're just in the universe that you are preoccupied with.
I love villains like that where we're just like so insignificant we can't understand what they're doing. They seem villainous because we're projecting our own values onto them. Like, no, you're not supposed to kill each other. You're not supposed to do this. So if they're doing that to us, they're bad. But to them, yeah, it's like us experimenting with a plant. Maybe they don't even understand what we are or that we have feelings or anything. It's like, no, we're just figuring shit out here. Oh, you guys feel stuff? Oh, shit, our bad. Oh, like, did anyone try telling Emrakul, like, dude, it hurts. When you hit me, I'm feeling pain. Ow. Do you get that? Maybe she would have been like, oh.
Yeah, that sounds like
when you split me open.
I think the World Eater probably would have been reasonable if you talked to her, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Stop cutting us in half. I'm sick of casting Exhume to come back to life. Please.
What if all she got was the Papa Roach single, Cut My Life into Pieces? So she thought that was the only, like, we did want to be cut into pieces. This is our last resort.
She had Papa
We're suffocating. There isn't any breathing. Like, help. So
Papa
I think she's
Roach
just
playing on repeat in her head.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. This is what they like? Okay, I get it.
Yeah. She's just looking out for us.
Is Ulamog's Crusher the biggest power and toughness at common? Got it. Not to derail the close.
I think that isn't there like an artifact creature that's like a 10 mana 10/10 or something, or maybe he's uncommon. Let me see.
There's a rare Colossus that does that, and then he turns into a 20/20 and loses Defender once you monstrify him.
It's not surprising it would
much-
be a common that it's an Eldrazi, but I'm trying to. I was thinking about that a little bit while I was looking at the card.
Okay, we're
It
gonna
might
go.
be. I don't know. Let's do a search right now.
Yeah,
Let's do a
I'm
live
searching
search.
right now.
No, I am.
I would beat you to it. There
Rarity
are
comp.
multiple 9/9s and a 10/10 artifact creature, like I said.
Whoa. Okay. Well, never mind.
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
an 8-mana
Crusher.
9/9, another
Oh,
a
shit.
9-mana 9/9 with prototype.
Damn.
You're right. So the biggest common is Rust Goliath. It's a 10 mana 10/10, has reach, trample, and prototype for 5. You can play it as a 3/5 reach trample.
And I think it sets your bedtime to 10 p.m. as well.
Yes. 10/10. You are going to bed tonight at 10.
Yeah, so you really put a
Damn.
timer on those games. It's kind of tense.
All right. Wow, there was an old common Crash of Rhinos, 8 mana, 8/4 trample. I did not realize they put that high of power on commons.
Is that
back
all
then.
it is? Just vanilla 8/4 for 8 mana?
Yeah, 8/4 trample for 8. There's also Eldrazi Devastator. We're idiots. 8 mana, 8/9 trample. It's like we know that card.
Oh, that's from the battle.
The return to Eldrazi
Whoops.
town. All right, Rust Goliath, a 10 mana 10/10. That's the biggest power toughness common. Cool. Good to know. Good call, Danny boy.
This was awesome. So
All
many
right.
freaking unbelievable, super powerful, super evocative commons. Love it. So cool.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Yeah, and there was very little crossover between our favorites. Actually, I guess there was a little bit. I feel like all of us had like
Me
one
and Carver had a lot of crossover.
one over
Right.
Yeah,
card,
surprisingly.
but
And there was some predictive nature,
Yeah.
like one of you Taylor, you didn't pick Muldrifter because you knew it would be there, and
yeah,
Carver anticipated somebody would have Ephemerate, I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah, but I still think for 16 real cards
Yeah.
selected, maybe only 2 or 3 actual 3 crossover. I don't know. It's still
Yeah.
surprising to me how different the lists are that we've done, so including this one.
yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is always surprising how different the play styles of everybody can be. Even when they're somewhat similar, someone's play style, it's like they still,
I gotta say,
surprisingly
Kyle,
cool. And then
Before, when we were talking about this in the Discord, I really thought Coiling Oracle was going to be somewhere, either on your honorable mentions or that was the card when we were messaging in Discord. That was the one I was like, he loves Coiling Oracle. He talks about it all the time. Like, it's got to make it.
And dude, I even knew, I was like, I was meta-ing myself because on the previous Magic podcast, I said Coiling Oracle is one of my all-time favorite commons, and then it didn't make this list. I literally deleted it from my honorable mentions list as we were doing this podcast because I'm like, I can't honorable mention 7 cards. I got to get rid of some of these. And Coiling Oracle was like,
honorable mention 25 cards.
yeah, I was like, all right, I'll get rid of this freaking Coiling Oracle, even though I do love the card. Okay, I'm honorably mentioning it now since you brought it up. I do love Coiling Oracle. Back then, it's like, oh, you'd think you would reveal the card, and if it's not a land, you just put it back on top. But you're like, wait, no, I get to put it in my hand anyway? Holy shit, okay. It's so good. It's like the OG Elvish Mystic. Way better, but it is 2 colors, so.
Well, yeah, because otherwise it ramps you, too. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yep, I'm busted. You caught me. Good call.
You busted.
But I have redeemed myself. I honorably mentioned it now, so suck it. All right, podcast is officially over.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. This was a good one today. It was fun. I'm glad we introduced Carver to Nested Shambler. He didn't know the card existed.
I know, that
Now
surprised
he's gonna
Yeah.
put that in his decks for sure.
Yeah, look out.
Plus Nameless Inversion for the synergy.
Yeah. All right. Well, good discussion, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
See you all next week.
There you go.
We're
Get your
sending
goodbyes out.
All
Kyle
right. Goodbye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
next week.